Okay, guys, now we are gonna jump right in. Okay, before we get into all the content, and I just want to introduce myself. I'm Pastor Fergus from SIBKL Church, and maybe just a little bit. None of the things that we are training you with, training here today, is new or is something that we came up with. Everything that you're gonna experience here is a product of just playing around with Zoom, experimenting. So I see some of you guys from some of the bigger churches as well who have dropped in with us today. Thanks for honoring us with your presence. It's quite possible that many people in your churches are also doing some really amazing things. And I think it's just a great time for us to just share and be a big church community during this time that we can share everything that we learn with one another. So if you ever wonder, Pastor, all these things can share with other people, the answer is please do. That's the very premise of why we are doing all this, is so that you can share it with as many people as possible. But before we get going, are you guys up for a game? Are you guys up for a game? Because I want to play a little. It's a very simple game. It's going to be fun, but I need your agreement. I need you to not take yourself so seriously. Can or not? Okay? So if you can take yourself not seriously for 5 minutes, just give me a thumbs up. I normally take myself quite seriously, but I'm not going to take myself seriously for 5 minutes, okay? I'm going to give myself a thumbs up, okay? And we're going to play this game. This game is called 12 People You'll Meet on Zoom. Okay, 12 people you'll meet on Zoom. I'm sure many of you guys have used Zoom for a few months now, and you'll see all kinds of people with their video on and what people look like on Zoom. Okay, so we're gonna have a laugh at ourselves. Now I'm gonna show you 12 different people you'll meet on Zoom. If you are one of them, then go to the chat and confess and say, yes, that has been me. Yes, I have done that before. Okay, okay. So ready? The first person you'll meet on Zoom is the half face. Okay, the half face is the person who only shows the top half of their face. Yeah, how many of you guys are the half face? Yeah, say it in the chat. Say it in the chat, right? By the way, there is a brother of the half face horizontal. Is the half face vertical? This is the person who shows only one left or right side of their face. If that is you, say it in the chat. Time to confess. There is another one. Some people manage to contrive to combine the half face horizontal with the half face vertical to produce the half face, the quarter face. Okay, how many of you guys? That's my best impersonation of the quarter face. Yeah. Okay. There is another one. There is the in your face, right? This is the guy who's so near to the camera, it's getting a bit uncomfortable. Some people push so far back, they become the laid back. The next one is the laid back. That's about 7 feet away. You guys know someone who does this, right? Every one of you have been in a Zoom call with someone who's leaning back against a wall 7 feet from their device. Sometimes you don't know if they've fallen asleep, okay? But then there is related to the laid back is the bedhead. Okay, if this is in the chat, I see some of you guys admitting to this. Yeah, I lie on my bed with my device over my face, right? Yep, and there's another one related to the bed head is the floor head, right? the floor head. The floor head, you always know because they've got a shadow of their device over their face. Yeah, okay. And the opposite of the floor head is my favorite, the ceiling fan. Yay! This is you know this guy, right? You've seen them before, right? Yeah, I see you guys laughing in the screens. Yeah, the ceiling fan. If you've been guilty of doing the ceiling fan, confess right now. Yeah. Okay, next one is the side slide. This one, not many people do this, but the ones who do it very well. Device on the side and they're sliding off their sofa or their bed, right? The next one is the second divisor. This is the guy who's lost interest in your Zoom call and they're actually already playing with their phone on the side, right? And the next one is the creepy hacker. This is the one who is in a dark room and their face is lit only by the light of their computer. Very creepy. Then finally, my last and favorite, the eaten alive. Yeah, this is the guy who's been trying out virtual backgrounds, but brother, it's just not working out, right? Okay, which one are you? Which one are you? Don't laugh, huh? Confess, huh? Okay, I know many of you guys are this. All right. Cool. Cool. So I'm really glad we got to have a bit of fun. That's just one example of the kind of games that you can play in your small groups. Okay. So if you are in a small group, you can actually play a game like that using polls as well. And it's something that we will do several times today, and I hope that you can grow more and more emboldened to try out the different things that are in Zoom, right? So today, the topic that we're going to talk about, let me just introduce to you all the things that we are going to be touching today, right? In terms of the topics that we're going to be looking at. So if you can look at this slide that's coming up, okay, we're going to be looking at everything from setting up yourself for a Zoom call to what you're going to do in the pre-session. So if you can get this, yeah, setting up your pre-session, welcoming, how you welcome the people into your room, how you can play an icebreaker, how you can use chat to play an icebreaker, just like what we just did just now, how we can utilize mute all, especially at the start of meetings, worship, teaching, spotlighting, facilitation of word, and using share slides and all that, prayer, mute, unmute in prayer meetings, using breakout rooms, hosts, how many hosts do you need? Do you just need one or many? Composing yourself on camera, and Zoom on mobile. There are a few things that you need to know about Zoom on mobile, and then how to manage difficult participants, whom I believe none are in here among our 366. But okay, so now the way we apply all these things, right, in small groups, okay, if the way we apply it, actually you can apply in many ways, Lord, as Pastor Chiu said just now, that some of us are running cell groups or small home groups. Some of us may even run a home church that is about the size of 30 plus, you know, and you think about your Zoom call as for your whole church. You know, some of us may run prayer meetings or prayer altars, you know, in our respective churches. Some of us teach classes, you know, and some of us even teach in church, and we also teach professionally because we are teachers outside as well, right? Some of us run Bible study. We run something that is a little bit more facilitated. Some of us run discipling sessions, you know. Or it may just be that you use Zoom for your ministry meetings. But either way, you're going to touch some kind of small group in Zoom quite a lot. So I hope that you can see that a lot of the things you learn here will be transferable to other Zoom meetings inside of church and outside of church. If you know friends who are using Zoom and are looking to learn more things, by all means teach them, because I believe that this is how the church can become the salt and light of this world. When we become good at using Zoom, then we can share it with our friends, with our colleagues, and all those things as well. And then, yeah, and that'll be great, right? If you normally use Google Meets, or if you use Microsoft Teams, or if you use Cisco WebEx, or if you use some other kind of video conferencing platform, I hope that many of the principles you learn here today will also be transferable. Yeah, some of the technical parts you might just need to relearn here and there. Some may be achievable, some may not, but all the principles are transferable. Okay, so with that, let me get started with the first thing. Okay, so how many of you guys use Zoom small groups primarily for a cell group or for a prayer meeting or for something? So we're going to run another poll, right? Just to get the poll fever out of our fingers, right? So another poll is going to pop up right now. Which kind of small group do you run on Zoom, right? Okay, so answer the one you run most frequently, okay? So is it a cell group or a Bible study? Is it a prayer altar or a prayer meeting, or any kind of prayer gathering? Is it a teaching? Do you teach in a class, a discipling session, which is something a bit more one-to-many rather than group dynamics? Do you run worship sessions, right? Worship nights, or you gather people around to run worship? So share, tell us that, right? And also your Zoom groups, right? How big are they? 2 to 10, that's one set of dynamics. 10 to 20, that's another set of dynamics. And of course, the medium-sized ones, right? 20 to 50 packs. And if actually you can scroll down, yeah, you can actually scroll down. Bigger than 100, right? Anything bigger than 100 is big, right? I know some of you guys none of you guys are running Zoom from 500 to 1,000, but if you have, okay, just share that with us. Wow, I see that most of you guys here come from a cell group, Bible study type of background, that is great. Quite many of you come from run prayer meetings, prayer gatherings as well. That's good. And it's relevant that at least 20 of you run mainly worship sessions, and there are very important dynamics that pertain to worship as well. Good stuff. So glad to see more than 2/3 of you have responded to this poll. Okay, let's end this poll. And get into it. All right, cool. 10 to 20 packs in all your groups is the most regular one that you are going to see. Okay, now I'm going to start you guys off with the fact that Zoom is very virtual, and a lot of the times when you sign into your Zoom, you may or may not want to be ready to have your video on, right? I see that even though on my first and second page, many of you have your video on, but third page as well, but by the time I hit page 4, I see that most of you just have your name over a gray generic screen. Now, I want to show you how, first and foremost, right, when you get onto Zoom, people got to know who you are, right? So a little bit about your profile picture, okay? I encourage you to put a profile picture and not just your name, but one little tip I've learned, right? So we're going to look at setting up profile picture, renaming yourself, sharing screen, audio settings, mic up, groom up a little bit, and then get onto a power source. So here's the first one, right? A little tip. I know most of us know how to do profile picture, but there's a little pro tip to get it right. If you put your profile picture from here, so if you go to your picture window here, your video, and you click on the 3 dots and you change your picture there, even though it looks so sharp, right, like the one in the slide right now, believe it or not, it's going to be really fuzzy and grainy whenever you turn off video. I've experienced that myself. So how do you make it really sharp? I used to be really envious of some of my colleagues. They're like, how do your profile picture become so clear and so sharp, right? Okay, let me show you how you can do that. First thing, you have to change your profile picture in the web client. So on your Zoom, your other Zoom window, click on the top right to settings, and then you'll get to number 1, profile. Click on view advanced features, click on profile, and then upload that same picture of yours. I mean, you can see on the number 3 window here, right? If you just peer a little bit, you can see how atrocious the pixelation is on my big picture there. So upload a new picture, and then host it there on the web client, and it's going to be really sharp and it's much bigger. It looks really nice whenever you stop video, right? So that's important, okay? That's one. That's on profile pictures, right? Okay. Secondly, you always want to remember to rename yourself, okay, so that you're not the name of a device, or you are not the name of the previous of the last family member who jumped in. We talked a little bit about this in our last webinar, so I won't get into this much. Okay. Now, I want to share with you guys one thing. If you're going to share screen, if you're planning to share screen, then before you run your session, you want to make sure you close all your other windows. Everything that is not relevant, close it all. So before I started this, getting onto this webinar, I closed my email, that one closed my WhatsApp, Telegram, everything. I closed everything already, so it's all gone. So right now, if I accidentally share the wrong screen, you won't accidentally see all my chats with my wife, for example. You know, so important as part of setting up. Fix your profile picture, rename yourself, make sure that you've closed all your other apps, unrelated apps, and then, of course, if you want to share anything, make sure you bring those windows up, right? Make sure that if you are in a place, or if your local device, the microphone is not so good, then you might want to mic yourself up, right? So I've got a little microphone here, right, to show you guys, okay? So you can buy these things, they are really cheap, you know, if your surrounding or your device has a kind of like not such a good microphone, it's not so clear, you can really buy one of these on Lazada for anywhere between 2 ringgit to 2,000 ringgit. So you might not want to bet in the 2,000 range, but you can definitely buy one decent enough at 10 bucks, you know, and someone will drive it to you, right? So good, right? So that's one thing. If you have to mic up, make sure you mic up, okay? Groom yourself a bit, okay? Because we all dress up and we all groom up a little bit when we go to church. Zoom church, Zoom cell group, Zoom prayer meeting, Zoom discipling, Zoom class should be no different, right? Because we should honor the Lord and just look the part for the occasion. You don't have to overdress because everyone is at home anyways, but just look fresh, look clean, okay? And yeah, power up your computer. I can't stress this enough. How many times I have mistakenly started a Zoom call with my computer and my whole setup far from a power source, and then halfway through on battery, 5% left, and I'm like scrambling, you know, and suddenly I have to present in one of my meetings and I'm like trying to find a power source. So make sure you power up. Where's my power right now? It is here. So make sure you power up for all of your calls. I hope right now you are also powered up on the device that you are on. Good stuff. Okay, and of course, you want to compose yourself. And by that, I don't mean compose yourself emotionally, though you might need to compose yourself emotionally, but compose yourself on your screen, okay? Yeah, I'll talk more about that later, okay? And of course, that's pretty much it for setting yourself up. I will encourage you to set up at least about half an hour before, okay, because you might realize that suddenly got so much to do, right? And especially if it's an important call with hosting quite many people. So do that. Now, one of the things that we do for slightly more, so if you run a cell group, if you run a prayer meeting, you might want to get the people who are serving together with you, in other words, your hosts, to come into the meeting room early, maybe half an hour, 20 minutes earlier, just to do a tech run. A tech run is a technical run to test everything that you're planning to do. Because you know technology is a way of contriving to spoil your day sometimes, right? Okay, so one of the things you might want to do is to do a tech run. Now, I'm going to show you on the screen right now all the things that you can consider when doing a strong, complete tech run. Firstly, test everything you are showing. If you're planning to play a video, please test it. I've heard of school teachers who want to show a video of their class and then they didn't test it. Then by the time they got 30 over students in front of them, you know, they tried to play the video and every student is saying, teacher, no sound, you know. So those stories are real. Those stories happen to all of us, pastors, teachers, anybody who's using Zoom. So test everything first, yeah. If you want to play ambient music, like what our hosts are doing right now, then test playing the ambient music. If you want to tweak with your waiting room settings, now you might want to have a waiting room, maybe not. Maybe you want to have a password, maybe not. Maybe you want to have no security and just let people come in because it's a small group with a few close friends, right? So fix your waiting room settings, right? Do you need to share screen? Does someone else need to share screen? Make sure you give them the share screen permissions as well. Do you want to allow chats? Some people do, some people don't. Today we did, right? That's why you can all go to the chat and say things. But there is a way for us to limit chats so that you can only speak to the host, or you can't even speak at all, right? So fix your chat settings ahead of time. You want to rename yourself, you want to unmute, all your unmute yourself settings, right? So whether you want to allow people to unmute now or later, do they come in already muted? That was what we did here today, because we can't afford to have 379 people all talking. So we set that you can, by the way, set it so that the moment people come in, they are unmuted. Can they unmute themselves? You can change those settings as well. And of course, if you want to put a virtual background, test it now. If not, you will be like the 12th guy whom we all meet on Zoom, which is the eaten alive fella, right? So test it, make sure your virtual background works. A bit more on virtual background much later. Okay, that's the tech run. Now, a few other things you want to do. You want to know what is your actual start time. So we can take the slide off now, and you want to know what is your actual start time. Now, you say Zoom meeting, let's say prayer meeting at 8 o'clock, right? But 8:03 still got people coming in, 8:05, 8:07 still got people coming in, right? So you want to know what is your actual, and in your brain, if it's 8:07 actually start, then you just chat with people, get people, or you can just start praying in tongues, right? Whatever works for your denomination and your culture, but you might just want to do something and then know it. when you're going to start a class at 8:08, let's say, right? Then 8:08, just start. You know what? Just start. Or maybe your marker is not time. Maybe your marker is when we hit 25 participants, then we will start. Whatever it may be, know it ahead of time so that when you are already waiting for people to populate the room, you are not gelabah, you're not thinking like, oh, how, should we start now? Because you always want to start your meetings decisively, right? You want to be decisive when you start because it gives everyone in the room confidence that you know what you're doing, right? So in my head today, I knew that we were going to start when we cross a certain threshold of number of people in this room. That was what I used as my start time. Now, is there anyone in your session that you need to have show up before you start? Make sure 20 minutes before you secure them. For me today, I needed to make sure Pastor Chiu signed into this room before I start because I wanted to get him to open us and to say hello to everyone. So guess what? At 2:10, I gave him a phone call and I said, hey, Pastor Chiu, remember we've got this, yeah? So here's the Zoom link, I dropped it in, we dropped it into his WhatsApp and so you will want to do the same. Do you have a pastor who is opening up your session? Do you have someone who is doing the icebreaker? And if they are not there, you can't really start, right? So you want to secure all these people before your actual start time. So your pre-session, your tech run and everything else is very important. And of course, as we do in physical, we do also in virtual, pray together before you start, right? So you want to do all these things before. And then, of course, you get people coming into your room as we did today. Now, I don't know if you guys, the early birds, you will know what I did when everyone came in, right? We had started bombing, about 100 people came in quite quickly. And the first thing I did was I started greeting everybody. So I just said, hello, hi guys, hey, how are you guys? Hey, I see you. And just greet everyone, right? Because there are two things you want all your openings to be. Number one, you want them to be warm. And number two, you want them to be decisive. So to be decisive, you just have to know when you're going to start and when you're going to move on. But you really want to be warm because as soon as you start your Zoom gathering, you want to build rapport with everyone. I don't know how my rapport is with all of you guys, but I do enjoy seeing all of your faces here. So the important thing is greet everyone as they enter. You don't have to get sucked into a long conversation with anybody, but you do want to, at least if it's a small gathering and everyone is not muted, you might want to say hi and make a little bit of small talk with each other. I might, for example, say, hey, hi Andrew, good to see you here. Yep, can't go mission trips, huh? Yeah, what a pain, man. Yeah. Looking forward to it. Hey, hi Amy, how are you guys? How are you, Amy? Hope you're doing well at home. Yep. Doing well, Amy? Yep. And you just want to move on, right? But be careful not to get sucked into a conversation because your participants may not have the same expectations as you. So they may go, hey, pastor, or hey, so-and-so, someone might say, hey, Amy, you know what? The other day, blah, 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 blah. Then they end up having this long conversation with you, right? So don't get sucked into a long conversation because you're talking with everyone for rapport sake. You're not talking with everyone for deep conversation's sake, right? But make sure you do that, okay? At this point, you may want to have your host manage the waiting room, getting everyone in. Now, there are different ways to do this. Some people like to use passwords. Passwords are probably one of the most secure ways to go about it, right? So greet everyone, background music playing, small talk, but passwords or waiting room or none at all, right? So so today, as you see, we didn't have passwords because it would be too cumbersome to have passwords, so we switched that off. We decided to have a waiting room so that we can gather all of you guys in the waiting room. Okay, so we decided to have a waiting room instead so that you can all gather in one place and we can admit you guys all together. Also because we gathered before that as our team, so we needed the waiting room. And of course, you may want to have none at all. So it really depends on what is your needs. If you have a small group, for example, later I'm having a Zoom call with my family, mom and dad, for Father's Day. So obviously I can switch off passwords. I can switch off a waiting room for that because it's just a small gathering and I don't have security problems. Let's That's my daughter, Zoom at home, right? Yeah, I purposely did this right in the middle of my living room so that we can talk and have an opportunity to talk about when your children Zoom bomb you in the background. But more on that later, okay? All right, cool. Now, where was I? See, we have to regather ourselves when our children Zoom bomb us. Okay, passwords, waiting room. You want to use passwords only maybe for very highly secure meetings. Let's say you're having a very confidential conversation and you don't want but I'll be honest, I've never wanted to use passwords because I find them a little bit too clunky. Okay, so when you've hit your actual start time, start. All right, cool. If you've got any questions throughout today, use the chat function. Yeah, use the chat function. If you've got questions about how to do any kind of function, if you're wondering how can I apply any of these things that I'm doing right now, go to the chat. Ask a question and our host will be raising up those questions as well. I know some of you guys are from BM churches. If you are, you can ask the question in BM. Some of you are from Chinese churches and you're actually much better typing and articulating your question in Chinese. Ask your question in Mandarin as well. I'm not a Mando speaker, but our host who is handling this will be able to ask and translate in Chinese as well. Okay, so don't worry about that. Please keep asking your questions. Now, I want to move on to the next topic, which is icebreakers. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about icebreakers and how we can use Zoom functions to run really engaging icebreakers. Actually with Zoom, engagement with each other is really, it's king, man. It's really king, right? So you want to use the chat. We can use chat, reaction and slides, using video on, using real life objects, using polls and all that for your icebreakers. We also want to talk about the expectations you will need to adjust, before you can, when you run icebreakers on Zoom, right? So we can take the slide off. I think we've all read that. Okay, now using chat, you notice how I did the icebreaker just now? The first one is I asked you what you ate for lunch, right? Now this is a simple icebreaker. One thing, everybody just started typing. Nasi lemak, batang, everybody started typing. And guess what? Everybody's engaging, right? And then I'm sure all of you were scrolling to see what your kawan-kawan were also eating. It's fun. You can use the chat in a very simple way. And sometimes you may be afraid like, wow, so many people Zoom, the chat will go crazy. But actually, not that crazy one lah. We have 300, almost 400 of you in here right now, but only 16 new chats on my bar, right? And so it's actually quite manageable. It's not too bad, right? So you can use your chat. Now, it's not just for crazy, wild, fun games. You can also use the Zoom chat for a slightly more meaningful icebreaker. So for example, you could ask a group, for example, what is one thing that's been burdening you right now? Type it into the chat, and because sometimes big group, you can't have everybody share, right? And I'm sure you've already experienced this. You run a Zoom group, you get everybody to share, and there are 16 fellas in there, and everybody share 3 minutes, and your whole night is gone, right? How many of you guys have experienced that? You have. It happens in real life, physical. It happens on Zoom as well. And Zoom, how are you going to stop them? You can't mute them, right? Very rude, right? Okay. So actually, if you plan ahead of time, you just tell everybody, hey, you know what? What's one thing that's burdening you right now? Type it into the chat. And guess what? People will type. And especially if you're a pastor, guess what? That's your prayer list that right there, okay? After everything is finished, Zoom will export a TXT file of the chat for you. And you can take that TXT file, put it into your phone, and that becomes your prayer best friend, right? You're praying for your congregation, big breaker, So it can be very powerful. I really want to encourage you to use the chat for your icebreaker. Reaction, you can either clap or fist bump. I'm going to fist bump, my little fist bump here. Boop, boop. Right, okay, that's my fist bump. Okay, I see all of you guys, many of you doing it. As you can see, some of your skin tone is yellow, some of it is matching your real life skin tone. You can change one, by the way. In fact, I even prepared a really silly, simple slide to show you that you can actually change your skin tone. Just go to your web client settings under general, and you can change your skin tone all the way from across the whole range. So yellow lives are also great, right? If that's what your that's what your thumb is looking like. But let's move on, right? That's just a little silly thing, right? But reactions, play with reactions if you want, okay? You can actually use your video to do an icebreaker. So I'm going to ask you guys right now, okay? How many of you guys are feeling fresh versus sleepy? If you are feeling very fresh, give me a 3. If you're feeling okay, so give me a 2. And if you're feeling very sleepy, give me a 1. At a count of 3, show me your fingers. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Show me. I'm actually very fresh. So I'm just show fingers on the screen. Everybody show your fingers on the screen. I want to see if your fingers. 3, 3, 2, 1. Brother Peter, God bless you. I hope I can keep you engaged, Peter. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Right. Okay. You can put your hands down. See, that was an icebreaker. You just played an icebreaker with your video screen, right? Another thing you can do, I know I've got colleagues who play really wacky icebreakers, and they send everybody around their house. Everybody go and find the following 5 things, and then they put up like a slide with a list of 5 things around their house, and everybody's running, scuttling around their house, and like, oh, I found a wet wipe, you know, oh, I found a water bottle, you know, I found an Optimus Prime, you know, and you play these games, and then, oh, I found all 5 things, I won, you know. You can play these kind of games as well. It can be quite fun as well, right? So I want to encourage you guys to push the limits of how you can do icebreakers. If you've got a pro account, you can run polls, okay? Polls, last time I checked, you can't run polls on a free account, but the moment you have a pro account, polls are open to you as a valid option. And we talk more about polls and online games in our previous webinar. So if you go to our previous webinar at 59 minutes on our last webinar on Run a Zoom Church, you can see us talk a little bit and do an actual demo of running a Zoom game, an online game with a Wheel of Fortune and running polls. So that can be fun. You can go look at that in your free time. But at the same time, you want to manage your expectations about how much you can do with your icebreakers, because at the end of the day, the medium is different, right? You've got a screen with people in squares, so there are some things you just can't pull off on Zoom, and then there are some things that you can. So adjust all your expectations in terms of what you can or can't pull off. Experiment, try things, have fun, you know, learn and keep improving. If you've got any questions, you can continue to type. Actually, let's take some questions. Yeah? Elsie, I want to introduce you guys to Elsie. Elsie, say hi to everyone. Hi, Elsie.
Hi.
Elsie is my colleague from our church team. So Elsie, have we got any questions for us up till now?
Yes, we have some questions asked about how to do song list in a Zoom.
How to do a song list?
Song leading worship.
Oh, leading worship. That's a great question. I will be tackling leading worship in the middle about 60% mark of today's webinar. So hang tight, and if whatever I share later doesn't get covered, then I really want to encourage you at that point, whatever I don't cover, please ask the question again more precisely, and I hope that I can help you answer the question as well. Okay, so yes, worship will come later.
Okay, one last question is, they're thinking, is it safe to run the Zoom without the password, like just now that you mentioned?
Okay, yeah. That's a great question. I think Zoom security is something that's on a lot of people's minds, and I know that there are some groups who rule themselves out of using Zoom because for a few weeks, about a couple of months ago, people were talking about how, oh, there's all these Zoom scammers and people took out all my money because I had Zoom on my account or something like that. Well, from my experience, I've never had security problems with Zoom, okay? From my experience, all the times I have opened up a totally open meeting where anyone can just drop in if they have the account, the link. No one's ever dropped in, but I want to encourage you that if you are worried about security, then I think password plus lock room. Okay, so if you have a password, then only the people with the password can come in. Okay, that's one. Once everybody is in, you can lock room. Lock room means that no one else can come in. Even so I don't know whether what it takes for a hacker to be able to break past lock room. I am not a hacker myself, so I'm not sure. But it should be fairly safe. I've never heard of, I don't know any single human being personally or friend of friend, anecdotally, who has ever experienced a Zoom security breach. I'll be very honest with you, the only Zoom security breach stories I've heard is mass email stuff. And I understand that Zoom has released at least 1 or 2 rounds of updates to improve their Zoom security ever since. So I'll be honest, it's not a problem for me until I start seeing it happen around me. Okay, but it's a good and very valid consideration. I will encourage you to try, and if you feel that you have but actually one good tip is this: please don't have your browser open when you're running Zoom. Okay, especially please don't have your Maybank to you open, your CIMB clicks open. Please don't have any kind of sensitive thing open while you are running Zoom, just to be perfectly safe. Keep all those things off. You don't need them while you're running Zoom anyway. So sign out, close all your sensitive documents, everything, get them all out, then run your Zoom call. And I've never had a problem. That's as much as I can say about Zoom security. Yeah.
Yep. So
Any other questions, Elsie?
right now.
No?
We cover right now, yeah.
All right,
Thank
cool,
you.
good stuff. I'm going to move on now to muting all upon entry, right? So when everybody shows up in the Zoom call, depending on how big your room is, if you've got a very big room, you might want to preset to mute everybody when they come in. I find this especially important if your people are not familiar with each other, and it might be the first time you're gathering like that. It's important. It really helps. Of course, if you've got a small room and everyone's familiar with everyone, as for most of you, you run cell groups, then it's not such a big deal to not have everyone muted upon entry. But when you are running a prayer meeting, right? So I want to talk a little bit about this. If you have a prayer gathering and everyone is together, when will muting all be helpful? Okay, so yes, mute all, using it. So if you are muting all, then you want to use the chat to communicate, right? Obviously, if you are muting all, when you mute all, and you're running a prayer meeting and you're starting with it, okay, it's helpful because it allows the prayer leader to set the direction and to capture the atmosphere. Because especially when you're doing something, you really want to make sure that you are holding, you're controlling. You don't have anybody coming in and kind of like starting to talk over you. Then you want to make sure that your Zoom functions are working together with you. Now, one thing I see a lot when people are in prayer meetings is that you want to get everyone to declare a scripture together. This is very powerful. If you want to open up any meeting, it is the same for a Zoom meeting. But guess what? When you do a scripture declaration over Zoom, as some of you may have experienced, there is a lag between everybody's audio. So what you thought in your head is going to be this beautiful chorus of everyone declaring Romans chapter 8 verse 1, it just comes out sounding like Pasar Malam. I'm sure you have experienced this before. If you have, you might be chortling to yourself right now. I can see some of your faces also. So guess what? It's very funny. The most coordinated things, you want to mute all. Okay, so if you want everybody to read the declare scripture together, guess what? Mute all and you yourself as the leader declare. And tell everybody in your homes, just declare. You may not be able to hear each other, but just declare. And that way, you don't have the distraction of the Pasar Malam sound. Instead, you have very clear one voice. See, remember I talked about managing our expectations for icebreaker. You have to manage your expectations for scripture declaration. And you want to manage your expectations for reading scripture together. I think a lot of times we are accustomed to say, come, friends, let's all read Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 and 2 together. 1, 2, 3. Bam! But if you do that over Zoom with everybody's mics on, it's chaos. And you want to have Genesis 12 verse 1 and 2, you will have chaos verse 1 and 2, right? So you don't want that, okay? So make sure if you're doing anything highly coordinated, get everyone to mute all, and you as the leader read. And tell everybody to read at home out loud so that they can hear it, because they also need to hear, faith comes by hearing, right? But make sure the mute all is on, right? Now, in order to facilitate this, you do want one host, one kawan with you who has co-host responsibilities to press that mute all button, okay? Because if you don't have someone to do that, then guess what? You are facilitating prayer and you are hosting Zoom settings, which is not good news, right? You don't want to do that. If you want to focus on the spiritual part of capturing the atmosphere, make sure you have hosts to help you to deal with all the functionalities of Zoom, right? Like today, I'm doing the training, I'm clicking nothing, hands-free. My tech team is clicking through every single thing, right? I've got 5 of them here today, and they're doing an amazing job. I thank God for them. You will thank God for all your friends who are also helping you in your respective meetings. Okay, now, especially if you're teaching a class, like I shared with you just now, you want to make sure you mute everybody. If you're teaching children, especially, wow, if you're teaching children, mute all is your best friend, right? Never sleep next to mute all, because mute all is your best friend. And don't get children to unmute themselves, okay? So set up your mute all settings so that you unmute the children one by one. Okay, if you're running children's program and you want to do something a bit more facilitated, and you want to say, hey, Izzy, why don't you share with us, and then let me unmute you, sweetie. Then you unmute, and then you let the little girl talk, and then once she's finished talking, you say, thanks so much, I'm going to mute you back, okay, pump, and then and then get a response from someone else after that. Make sure you are in full control of mute, especially if you're working with kids ministry, right? Yeah, that's a little bit about mute all, and we're going to keep talking about mute all, because can I tell you something? The functions in Zoom are going to cycle back round and round and round. You're going to hear two things a lot. Me talking about the functions in Zoom, and me talking about your gathering style, because every function in Zoom has a slightly different use and application, and you can manipulate it slightly differently, whether you're doing a prayer meeting or a cell group or teaching a class. So we will keep cycling through them. Don't worry, at the end of this, you will get better, at least theoretically at it, right? And after that, go and experiment all you like. So that's a little bit about how you can open up all your sessions, okay? Remember, always open warm, always open strong, and when you do icebreakers, keep them lively. Push for maximum rapport and engagement from the get-go. From as early as possible, get everyone to chat in your either face-to-face or chat in the chat room. Use all the tools possible. We have just finished the whole first part of today's session. First part only, got a lot more to go, okay? On opening, right? If you have any more questions, please share in the chat. Okay, I see that there are quite a lot more chats since I last opened this up. Wow. Okay, Elsie, do we have any questions that we can field? And in the meantime, everybody take a water break, and I will take a question right now. Yeah, I will take a water break myself. But Elsie, if you got a question, can you ask it? Yeah.
Yeah, I have one question here. They're talking about, if let's say the room is locked, can the people leave? Can we still add people in if they come late? Like, sometimes when we run sale, people come in late and all that.
Okay, that's a great question. I don't know this, but I'm going to get one of our hosts to research this real time for you. So let me articulate the question for our host and our tech team, right? The question is this: if I have locked my room and someone wants to come in, do they enter the waiting room, or can they just not get into anything at all? Okay, that's one. How do you lock a room and still potentially enable more people to come in? Our tech host will be researching this real time right now, and then at our next Q&A session, we'll get that answered. All right, cool. Let's move on. Any other questions, Elsie? Sorry, I must delay a bit. I don't know everything about Zoom. I know some only. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so far, our co-host has been answering all their questions there. So,
good stuff. Yeah, in fact, our tech guy is so fast that he already knew the answer. So I want to introduce you guys to one of my tech guys. His name is Krishan. Krishan, can you spotlight yourself and answer this question for everybody to hear? Everybody say hi, Krishan.
Hello, hi everyone.
Hi, Krishan. Yeah.
So just now, as the question was asked, if your meeting is locked, and a locked meeting is different than you have enabled a meeting room. Yeah, so a locked meeting means that your meeting is just locked with the people inside your meeting. And I suppose the question was that would the waiting room still remain? Yes, your waiting room will still remain. And when in your meeting options, when you go to your participants tab, you can actually unlock your meeting room, and after that, one by one, you can actually admit the participants later on. But while your meeting is locked, You will not be asked to even admit the participants in, and none of the co-hosts or even the host can admit anybody in. But your waiting room will still remain there.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you so much, Krishan, for answering that question. Good stuff. Okay, I hope that answered your question. If you've got any more questions about any of these things, feel free to keep on asking them. I'm going to move on to the next topic, which is the one that we had a question on a little earlier on worship. All right, so let's bring up a slide to show us a little bit about worship. We're going to talk a little bit about Zoom audio settings. Okay, this is really important. We're going to talk a bit about device and your device and the distance of your device to you while you're playing music. A little bit about mute all again, like we talk about mute all the time. And then physical worship, right? The physical element, or rather the physical aspect of worship, though we are over Zoom, lyrics, worship a cappella, and worship over YouTube. So we're going to be talking about all these things, but we can take the slide off for now. Good stuff. Now, worship over Zoom is a very, very tricky thing. It's not straightforward at all, okay? And the most important thing, your best friend when you do worship over Zoom, is not this guy. Your best friend when you do worship over Zoom is your Zoom audio settings, okay? So we have a Zoom audio settings guide. I actually have it right now, and I did not plan this with my team, but I actually have it with me right now, and so I am going to drop for you a PDF. Yeah, okay. Now, if you go to your chat in approximately 10 seconds, while this file is going up, you should be able to see a file called Zoom Audio for Worship. This file, this little PDF guide will tell you how you can set up your audio settings in Zoom so that you get the best sound possible for worship. But let me tell you the principle. The principle is this: Zoom's audio settings by default have all this processing, audio processing. It really ruins your audio in order to filter out sounds, in order to filter out hums and all these things, right? So it does all these, if you can say, horrible things to your Zoom audio in order to supposed to clean it up, okay? And what that file, I hope you can see it. If you go to your chat right now, you should be able to pick up that file right there. It's specially for you, but even if you don't and you're unable to get it, after this webinar, over the next couple of days, it will be on our Lentil Patch ministry website as well under resources. So everything will eventually get there, but our team is working really hard to get the resources up. In the meantime, I hope you've got it over the chat. Now, you want to set up your Zoom audio so that you minimize Zoom processing your audio and you get original sound. Now, Zoom original sound is really not that bad. So I'm going to do a little demo for you, okay? This is my sound setting without any without you changing the audio. So if you don't fix your settings, meaning your default straight out of the box settings is like this, and I expect it to sound quite bad for you guys, okay? So you tahan for a moment. I'm just gonna do a demo, okay? So here I bow to lift you high. Okay, now that might have sounded quite bad, okay? Because you're hearing the voice and then the guitar is kind of squeezed, okay? And then after a while, the microphone doesn't know what to do, so it starts to get your guitar, but then your voice is squeezed and it's doing all these horrible things, right? But if you fix your settings, now I've got a preset ready. So I hope this sounds a bit better. I ran this with my tech team a little earlier, and they said they could hear the difference, okay? Now I've changed the settings, so this should sound better. So here I bow to lift you high, right? So you can see that even with just a few little tweaks of your Zoom audio settings, it suddenly improves by maybe significant enough for me to see 2 or 3 heads go like, oh yeah, right? Okay, so it actually kind of works. But of course, if you have more gear with you, if you can plug a microphone and a guitar into a digital interface, and you can put all that lead into your Zoom, all power to you, brother, go for it, But if you don't and you can't, right, and all you have is an acoustic guitar and your voice, then make sure you get all your Zoom settings right, because it makes a big difference. Now, I haven't done a lot of testing with piano, but the same principles kind of apply. You just need to maybe make sure that your device and your singing volume needs to be matched, because a piano puts out quite a lot more volume compared to a guitar playing at medium kind of pace. Now, one thing you need to know is you just want to make sure your device is far enough from you, not right up close. See, so because even though my settings are fixed, if I played my guitar right up close, it will still capture mostly my vox, right? My vocals will go in stronger and you'll be right in front, and then my guitar will be a bit further behind. But if you kind of move your device maybe about 3-4 feet, like maybe a leg's distance from you, right? And then you play your guitar and you sing at normal volume, it should, the sound by the time it gets to your device, based on all our testing, should be mixed a little better. It's kind of like a really kampong way to mix your audio, but it's the best we can do, right? If you don't have a digital interface or something like that to play with, okay? So that's very important. The next most important thing when you do worship, I know, same principle, you thought it sound great if everybody can worship and hear each other. No, pasar malam. So make sure that only the worship leader is unmuted, everybody else, okay? Encourage them to worship at home, Now, you know what? What do you do with your screen when you are in worship? Some people like to spotlight the worship leader. So I'm being spotlighted right now. You can see each other. You can only see me, and I'm leading you in worship, right? But maybe you don't want to spotlight the worship leader. Maybe you say, actually, I want to take the spotlight off and show gallery view. So tag team, why don't you take the spotlight off and show gallery view, okay? And so that we can all, and if you're on your device, I want you to encourage you to click on gallery view. I'm doing it right now with my device, and then you can see everybody. So your worship leader might be in one small window and they are worshiping, but all of you can see each other lifting up holy hands and worshiping and praising the Lord. And isn't that even more encouraging when we can worship horizontally and vertically at the same time, right? And take the spotlight off your poor worship leader who himself is struggling with his Zoom settings, right? So I want to encourage you, worship, go gallery view, and really enjoy worshiping and being able to see each other, see the whole body of Christ worshiping together, right? I think that's really great. I like that. But maybe you say, no lah, all these songs are less familiar. My people don't know how to sing the song, so I need the lyrics. There you put lyrics lor. For me, if everybody knows the song, like if I'm going to do Here About and something that everybody knows how to sing, you know what? I might not even put lyrics, because I'd rather they see each other. But maybe you need lyrics, right? So put lyrics on, same idea. Make sure that your lyrics are clear on your PowerPoint slide, and you are clicking through it. You have a host to click it. Don't like you're playing and then you're clicking, and then you're playing, then you're clicking. Now you don't want that, okay? So make sure you have hosts to do that thing for you. Now, sometimes you might say, maybe I can put the lyrics into the chat window, so that I still have my gallery view. Not a bad idea, but maybe if you can afford not to, I would rather you don't, because the chat window is a bit smaller. So sometimes people will be peering in, and the moment they're peering at the lyrics, they're not worshiping anymore, right? So if you just have to show lyrics, put it big, bold, loud on the slide, and just do it, right? If you want to do it properly. Okay, so that's on lyrics. Now, supposing you don't have a guitar, don't have a piano, and you don't have any musical accompaniment, what can you do, right? You can actually worship a cappella over Zoom. And by a cappella, I don't mean unmuting everybody and doing a 50-part harmony. I mean one person sing, and then everybody else follow at home, and there's really no harm. I've led a bunch of prayer meetings before we go get our Zoom audio up. I've done a cappella before as well, and it's not too bad, right? So same thing, I get everybody to be muted, but I tell everyone, come guys, let's just worship at home, right? And hey, why don't we do that right now? I know there are 385 of us, okay? You guys want to worship a cappella, one stanza. One stanza. Come, everybody, just, you can turn off your video, you can have your video on, it doesn't matter. One stanza. Everybody, let's sing here about, I'm going to lead, you're going to hear me, and we're all going to worship the Lord together in Jesus' name. So here I bow to lift you high. Lift your hands. Jesus, be glorified in all things. For all my life I am yours, forever yours. Not too bad, right? Not too bad, right? If one chorus was not too bad, can you give me a thumbs up? Just give me a thumbs up, right? All right, good stuff, good stuff. So actually, you don't need all the gear in the world, lah. Okay. In fact, some of you, if you maybe you feel like, oh yeah, my singing not so good, lah. Let's do worship song. Okay, let's play YouTube. Okay, actually you can play YouTube, go ahead, play YouTube. But you know what, if you want to play YouTube, there are a few Zoom settings you must get right. Okay, so look at this slide right now. If you want to play on YouTube and you click share screen and you're just about to go to your YouTube screen, there are two very important boxes that you need to check. Okay, so if you look at the screen, which will be coming up, okay, the first box will say share your computer screen, share computer audio, okay? And the second box that you're going to see on your slide will be optimize your video to be shared over share screen, right? So even right now, I know you don't have share screen rights, okay? But if you were to press your share screen button under a normal Zoom call, you'll be able to see at the bottom there are two little pictures as well, okay? Two little check boxes. Make sure you have those checked, okay? If the slide can't come up, if we have got any problems with the slide, then don't worry about it. Maybe we can show that later, okay? Now, if you click share screen at the top of your share screen, okay, there will be another button as well. There is basic and then there is advanced, right? And if you click on advanced, you are able to, now this is quite good, huh? Now it's a little bit technical, bear with me, but you're able to do this. You're able to share a YouTube video, sound only. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? You can share screen a YouTube video. Okay, we've got this. Okay, so when you click share screen, okay, there's those two buttons there. Share computer sound. Make sure you click that, okay? If not, you play from your Spotify or you play from your YouTube, nobody can hear anything, right? Click the second box, optimize screen share for video clip. Make sure these two are clicked, then you pick your YouTube video, then you share screen, then you play the file, right? But there is another one, the one I was telling you just now. If you go to look at the next slide, okay, at the top, there is basic, advanced, and files. Now, under advanced, the middle one says music or computer sound only, which means that you can actually play a YouTube video, but have everybody on gallery view. Isn't that quite cool, right? So you can have the YouTube song playing, and then you can have everybody lifting up hands and seeing each other, and you don't have to see Hillsong on stage or Bethel on stage. You can actually see each other, in the Zoom view instead, but you can hear them. So you get the best of both worlds. I quite like this, Of course, these are all tools to help you with worship. If you haven't, or if you don't have a guitar or a piano, or you don't have any kind of accompaniment, and you're too shy to lead a cappella, you can definitely resort to playing worship through audio. Okay, so if you've got any questions about YouTube, especially for our brother or sister who asked a question on YouTube or on worship just now, if your question hasn't been answered, please feel free to ask it again, maybe more specific issue in the chat room. If you've got any worship specifics, ask it in the chat. I'm not a worship expert myself, but if you have any questions, I'm sure we can see whether we can help you out. Okay, that's all for worship. Elsie, do we have any questions up to this stage?
Yes, Pastor Fergus. There are some requests about remote control.
I love remote control. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So they just want a little bit more explanation on the remote control. Yeah.
Okay.
And
so
what is that?
Okay, Zoom allows you. Okay, so if I'm a host and if you are a host, Zoom allows me to allows the two of us, okay, to do remote control. And by remote control, it means that let's say I can't figure out something on my computer lah, okay? So I'm like, how do I do this setting, you know? And then I'm talking with someone who knows so that someone who knows might say, okay, Fergus, I'm going to ask you if I can remotely control your computer, okay? And then they will click on remote control computer, right? My computer. So imagine if Elsie says, Pastor Fergus, can I remote control your computer? I will get a pop-up. Don't worry, they can't remote control your computer without you saying yes, okay? You will get a pop-up. I will say, yes, allow Elsie Chin to remote control my computer. The moment I click that, then she sees my computer screen on her Zoom screen. When she moves her mouse, the mouse on my screen is moving. So she can go to the setting and click. Then she can go, oh, Pastor Fergus, it's like this, it is here. And then after that, you click here, and then after that, you click here. And I'm like, wow, you are controlling my computer from across town, you know? And she's clicking here. Okay, Pastor, your settings should be done. I'm like, this is amazing. Thanks so much. And remote control. Then after that, I have full control of my computer back. She has full control of her computer back. And this is one way, if you have learned something here, you can actually help someone to fix their audio settings for worship. That is very important, right? So let's say you're doing a tech run. That's why a half an hour tech run is so important, right? Your worship leader says, hey, actually, I don't know how to do the worship, the Zoom audio settings. Say, never mind, I'm going to remote control you right now, and I'll count all of it for you. Or let's say you have your pastor is not so familiar with Zoom, and you are like expert, so you can say, don't worry, Pastor, I count all your settings for you. Then you can remote control their computer for 5 minutes, you set up everything, and then you can leave their computer, right? Of course, there are also limited things that they can do. They can't do everything that they can do. But I tell you, it's very helpful for Zoom because they can help you to help each other to get things done. I tried it once, you know. I experimented doing remote control with one of my leaders, and it was a lot of fun. Because I was controlling his PowerPoint, and I experimented making a slide together with him. Yeah. So that's remote control. Good stuff. So glad you asked that question. Yeah. Elsie, any other questions?
Yes, about the recording. That is, we are to record on the cloud. If the host who previously hosting that then left and transfer the host function to another person, will the recording stop, or how is it going to be?
Okay. So let me articulate the question. I am the main host. I start recording, and then suddenly I have to leave. Okay. So I transfer the main host to my friend. Okay. And then I leave. When I leave, does the recording break? Okay, that's an excellent question. I've never tried that myself, so I don't have the answer. Again, tag team, if you have the answer, share it. Just drop me just drop a chat inside here to say that tag team knows, and I will be able to see it so that we can answer that question in a moment. Any other questions for now? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So for they would like to enable. How do I enable private chat?
How do you enable private chat? Okay,
yes.
Enabling private chat. So by the way, you may notice that today's chat settings have been set so that you can't chat with each other, okay? But you can only chat openly, okay? Now, how do you enable private chat? When you go to your Zoom settings, there is a chat, the general chat, and then there's all general settings, and you can go to the part that's talking about chat settings, and under that chat settings, you can enable private chat or not. You can enable chat with everybody or not. You can enable chat only with hosts or not. So you can do all that in your Zoom settings. Now, Zoom settings is extremely extensive. I really want to encourage you, if you want to explore Zoom settings, to be guided through by our last webinar. We spent the first 20 minutes walking you through all the Zoom settings, so comprehensive by the last trainer who did this. So I really want to encourage you. You can see, you can get you can watch the last webinar on our website at sibkl.org.my/. lentil patch. So our tech team will drop the link into this chat as well. Okay, now again, our tech team actually knows the answer to the question on recording, host passing it back and forth and leaving. Will the recording be broken? Krishan, can you spotlight yourself and answer this question?
Okay, hi everyone again. So the question was that when you actually are on cloud recording, if a host suddenly leaves the meeting and transfer the hosting rights to another host or co-host, will the recording still continue? If you're on cloud, then yes, your recording will continue. But if you're on local, your recording will actually stop. So if you're on cloud, you would notice that actually when you're a co-host, everybody on the top can actually control your recording. Even the co-host can control the recording because it's on cloud. But when you are not a co-host and you're a member, you can only just see the recording is going on. So when you change host, the recording still continues on cloud, but it won't continue if you're on local. I hope that helps.
Yep, excellent. Summary, on cloud, yes, continue. On local device, nope, it will break. Now, one more thing to say about cloud recording, which I'll be honest, when I started to use Zoom, I was a little suspicious of cloud recording because I preferred to be in full control and have my recording come down onto my device. But I learned something about cloud. They tell you have one gig or something like that, right, of space. But I have had friends who experimented and they recorded into 10 gigs. Now, don't take my word for it, okay? Don't. Only do this for experimenting and for things that you can afford to lose, okay? But my friends told me that they actually tried and recorded into 20 gigs, okay? Between 10 to 20 gigs, and their recording was still on the cloud. So don't take my word for it. This is a user feedback. It's not the formal training, okay? But what this tells you is that maybe you can trust the cloud maybe just a little bit more. If you are suspicious of cloud and you're scared that you break the 1 gig limit, that you will just potong, right? And yeah, now I know why I wanted to record my device, because my device had 10 gigs free and the cloud only has 1 gig free. So I was thinking, hey, Daila, if you reach 1 gig, how, right? Safer to record onto device. Apparently, for some users, they've experimented and it's fine, right? It's fine. So okay. I want to move on, okay, because we should go on. Teaching. How many of you are teach? Okay, teach classes. Maybe it's a bit more one-directional. The Zoom setup for doing Zoom skills, if I can say, for teaching one-to-many, again, is a little bit more nuanced. It's not the same as if you are doing other things. So if you are teaching, especially if you're teaching with slides, always run through your whole deck, okay, and get someone to click through your slides for you, okay. That is so important. I had a brother who had to click his own slides while teaching, and he was doing technical things and he was teaching at the same time. Not a good idea, okay. And I tell you why it's so important, because when you are teaching, you want your host to do 3 things. Okay, your host must do 3 things. One is you want them to occasionally show your slides. You want them to sometimes spotlight you on the video. And you want to see everybody on gallery view. And sometimes you want everybody to see each other on gallery view. 3 things, okay? Slides, spotlight, and gallery view, okay? So we're going to talk about this. Teaching without slides is a different thing altogether. And then a few tips on how you can break microsleep on Zoom and how you can intermittently get response from people. Okay, so if we take the slide off, cool. So that's why it's so important that your host is ready and knows you as a teacher, what your style is. But regardless of your style, can I say this? Change it up frequently. Even the way I'm doing this training right now, you'll see that we are putting slides and then we're getting off slides, and then sometimes I'm spotlighted. Maybe sometimes I'm not. Sometimes we're going to LC. Sometimes they're coming back to me, you know. And if I'm not spotlighted, and if you're in gallery view by default, you should be able to see all of each other as well. Now, that's very helpful, because I tell you something, one directional is boring enough. Okay, now you may be an excellent teacher and you can retain, but not all of us can retain across half an hour, 45 minutes or something like that on Zoom like that. It's really, really breakneck. So actually, I tell you who's helping me. My tech team is helping me to show you the slide, take it off, and then spotlight me, and then take it off to gallery. So that really helps to break the monotony, because when you're teaching, monotony is your biggest enemy. Actually, it's your biggest enemy, because you can teach the best class, but if everyone is zoning out, right, there's no point. Okay, so teaching without slides has its own set of challenges, because then your physicality comes into play. So if you notice that a lot of times when I am on video, you see me leaning in, okay, and you see me leaning out, you see me using my hands, you see me taking the things around me to use as illustrations. The physicality of the teacher becomes extra important when you are doing when you're teaching without slides, because they have nothing to go by. Okay, and of course, if you're teaching without slides, then your chat becomes your best friend, because all the written cues, like let's say you chat, right, I've got 4 points that I want to share with you. Your 4 points, you can't show slide right, put it into the chat lah, because everybody can see right? Okay, so that is very helpful if you're teaching without slides, physicality and using the chat for your function. Remember to always give your students water breaks and Q&A breaks. Even everybody, let's just take a break, 5 minutes, turn off, not 5 minutes, you don't have a break 5 minutes on Zoom, 1 minute on Zoom, turn off your video if you want to, stand up, stretch, whatever it is. We'll do that in a moment, by the way, a real one, okay? But that's very important if you are teaching a class. Now, it's very important to get intermittent responses, okay? Intermittent responses from people. So you can use your chat to get people to respond. I ran a discipling session where what I wanted them to respond was a bit more personal, okay? So I actually got everybody to, can you guys go and get a piece of paper and a pen at the start, actually before I already texted my guys, right? For tomorrow's session, make sure you have pen and the paper, right? And in the session, I reminded them, if you don't have your pen and paper, get it before we start. And then halfway through the session, I said, I want you guys to journal these 2 questions. I put it on the slide, and I said, I want you all to write this down. You don't have to show anybody. You just have to know it. It's between you and God. And then I could see in the gallery view, I could see all of them were writing, right? It's so good. You know why? Because they are interacting with you, and they're interacting with their real world as well, which is important, because Zoom screen for 40 minutes, it can be really tough, right? So they're interacting with their real world. They're doing something kinesthetic, and then they're doing something visual, and so it can be very good to learn that way, right? So even for simple things like asking your people, what is one thing I've caught? What is one thing I've learned right now? Let's do that right now. Everybody go to your chat, okay, and share with us up till now, what is the one thing that you have learned that you really like? Okay, one thing that you really like based on what we have learned. We have talked about how to prepare yourself for a Zoom meeting. We've talked about a tech run. We have talked about how to do icebreakers. We've talked about greeting and how to greet everyone on Zoom. We've talked about how to use the chat, how to use screen share, how to mute all. We've talked about prayer meetings a bit. We've talked about worship. Yeah, we talked quite a lot about that. And now we are talking about teaching and spotlighting. Yeah, if you have learned something, you can say in the chat. See, I see some of you guys saying always have a tech team support. So good, right? Yuan Fong says sharing audio for you only for YouTube. Love that, right? Wow, I see some. So hey, use the chat. Everybody go now. I'm gonna write as well. Okay. My favorite thing that I learned recently was also YouTube with audio only plus gallery view. I learned this yesterday. So I'm so cool, so excited to share. Everybody type audio settings, being warm and building rapport, remote control, right? Jared, so cool, right? Doing icebreakers. Wendy likes the audio settings. Afshin likes using physical things. Wai likes starting decisively. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, I can see that you guys, okay, since we are at this natural breaking point, why don't we get the music up? Everybody has 2 minutes of water break, okay, 2 minutes, okay, and then get up, stretch a little bit, relax, and then we'll come back. And when we come back, the big one, facilitating word study or Bible study by getting discussions going on. I think that's heavy. I think we all take a break. 2 minutes. Okay, I really want to appreciate all of you guys for learning new things. Now, the next one is the big one, facilitating a word study, right? Because you can do it in a living room, but to do it in a Zoom room is a totally different matter. So we're going to talk a bit about gallery view and how you can use it to feel your crowd. We're going to talk a bit about starting with very low pressure questions if you want to build up and get responses from everyone. The best way to use slides, breaking down tough chunks. You can use the chat to break down some of those things. And of course, you can call out and unmute people to get responses. Okay, so let's dive into the first one. Gallery view and feeling your crowd. When you are facilitating some kind of Bible study or word session over Zoom, you must be in gallery view some of the time at least, because your rapport with everyone is going to determine whether they respond, and whether they respond is going to make a difference to whether they learn and whether everyone in that room can learn as a group. Okay, so being able to see each other will give you a temperature reading of their interest level. So right now I can see all of you guys. I can see that most of you are trying your best in the afternoon to stay awake. Okay, I can see that most of you are in that mode, right? Some of you've given up on that mode and you're actually sleeping, but you won't be able to hear this because you're sleeping, right? So others are really right on, right? I can see you leaning into your computers and you are all set. Now, if your room, everybody is looking tired and they're side sliding and they're like, leaning back, then you can't just keep on talking. You must do something different, right? Change it up, right? Play an icebreaker game, break the momentum, like what I just did. I just broke the momentum, the monotony rather, by giving you guys a break or something like that. You have to be able to do this, okay? If you are facilitating a group, seeing everyone, gauging their interaction, okay? Now, what can you do if you see everyone starting to zoom out, even though they have zoomed in, okay? Get them to respond on the chat, right? So that's what I did just now, I told all of you guys, okay, tell something that you did on the, say it on the chat. And then it forces them to wake up from their micro sleep. That is very important when you're facilitating some word study, right? But you really want to be able to start low pressure. Okay, and this is a facilitation principle. It applies whether you're in a living room or you're on Zoom, but especially on Zoom. You know why? Because if people don't want to engage, they off video, mute mic, and then they off video, and then they just sit back and be a consumer, lor. They just listen to you, lor. And what can you do, right? You can't even go to the brother and put your arm around and say, hey bro, how are you? You can't even do that, right? Because you're not in the living room, right? So all the more in a Zoom chat, you need to be able to engage with everyone. So how do you do that? Start low pressure. So I'm sure for many of you guys, if you're doing a Bible study or a facilitated word discussion, you have preset questions, right? You want to start even more low pressure. And for the most low pressure things for me, when I take these sessions, I like to get everyone to just say one thing into the chat. And it doesn't matter what you get them to say into the chat. Let's say we're doing a study on Nehemiah, okay? Let's say we're doing a study on Nehemiah, right? Okay. And before I get into the real topic, I might just say, okay, Nehemiah is about building walls, right? Everybody tell me which is your favorite wall in your house. Just say, tell us your favorite wall in your house. And then everybody will type in, is it the wall that I face in my dining room? That's my favorite wall. Or the wall behind my piano because all my family photos are on it. You might say that, right? Just tell me which is the wall in my bathroom that I face when I'm on the throne, right? You might say that. Which is your favorite wall? And then everybody type, and guess what? After they have done that, they have used the chat room once. Super low pressure, right? They said something super low pressure, but having used it once, the next question that you ask, which might be about Nehemiah or something like that, everyone might share already. You know why? They've entered, they've stepped into your house already, And the whole thing about doing a facilitated word or Bible study is you want them to progressively step deeper and deeper into your house. And once they are deep right there in your living room, they can chat. They are there. You don't even need to use the chat function. They are talking and they are waiting and they're dying to talk over Zoom. But you have to slowly build it up. So start by asking low pressure questions in gallery view. Even your Bible part, you can ask them very discovery-based questions like, where was Nehemiah during this time? Or, yeah, he was in the citadel in Susa, something like that. It's right there, You don't need to be clever, You just need to read your Bible, right? So always ask the simple discovery questions and then build it up from there. Now, when you are using slides, you may have preset questions, right? Question 1. What does Nehemiah 2 tell us about ABC, right? Okay, you might have preset questions and you might put it on a slide and you might show your slide, right? Okay, now one common thing that a lot of us do, which might not be the best, is that you show all your questions in one slide. Don't show all your questions in one slide. Show your questions slide by slide. You know why? Because if you show all 4 questions on one slide, what is everybody doing? Your natural impulse, you answer the first question, then you're thinking of your answer for the next 4 questions, right? Okay, so you know what? Don't do that. Because you know why? When everyone is discussing, they are not listening to each other answer question 1. They are thinking about their response to question 2 and 3 and 4, right? So release your questions as you would in real life. Okay, ask one. Show one slide, one question. And after you've shown the question, Friend, you don't have to show the question the whole time one. You show the question, they know already, right? Then take your slide off so that everybody can see everybody, right? Because when you're doing it, rapport is king, right? So when everybody can see everybody, then you can have a discussion about it, right? And when everyone is discussing, then we say, okay, which leads me to my next question. Then your host will know, they pandai, share screen, slide 2, click. Second question is this, everybody can see the question. And then everybody see question. Okay, so the second question is, how do you feel about Nehemiah when he faced opposition? Everybody is there already, ma? Then take the slide off, see each other's faces, and then continue to discuss, right? So that's one thing that's very important when you're using slides for a Bible study like that. Flash up, come down. Get it up, come down. Get it up, come down. The more dynamic it is, the more everyone will stay on their toes, right? So that's very important, okay? Sometimes you might want to assign one person to read the scripture for you, so you show it on the slide, okay? And then you have to comb through, right, all the faces, and you're like, oh, who is in this room who can help me read, okay? But if you know someone who's there, you can pre-assign, okay? That'll be good. Or you can even put their name on it, okay? So Nehemiah 2 verse 1 to 5, okay? And then underneath that is the name Lee Edwin, okay? Hi Edwin, good to see you. Yeah, okay. And so maybe the slide comes out with Edwin's name on it. So it says Edwin. Okay, Edwin, your name is there. And then the next slide that comes on, if the name, Phoebe is on it, then Phoebe will know. Then she will start reading. Right? This works very well if your cell is already, or if your group is already very tight knit and everyone really trusts each other. Then you can even do that. I know one of my cell groups does that, and they do it to good effect as well. Okay. Now, slowly, you want to build up the depth of your Bible study or your word facilitation. So I want to share with you one or two tips that I've had the joy of playing with. The other day, I was with one of my cell groups, and we were talking about the expression throne of mercy. We were looking at Hebrews 4 and looking at the expression throne of mercy, which is right at the end of Hebrews 4. And so I decided that, okay, so everybody was very quiet. So if you're leading a session like this, everybody very quiet is bad news, right? You need to grease it and make it jalan, right? So I started asking them, actually, guys, what is throne of mercy? And then nobody talked, right? So you got to grease even more, ma. So I said, okay, everybody, open up your chat right now and paraphrase throne of mercy. What? Actually, in fact, just paraphrase throne. Everybody, what is throne? And then they started typing. Everybody type. Then let me start. I say chair. Okay. Then I say chair, you're facilitating. Always start first. Okay. Always start first. So I say it's a chair. Okay. Then I type chair. But then it's not just any chair. And then they started to say, the chair of the king. And then they say the place of authority. They started typing it down. So your chat function that day became my best friend because nobody was talking. But when I asked them to paraphrase what is a throne on the chat, they started doing it, right? So they Then I said, but then why this one of mercy, leh? Why not of judgment, leh? What other things can a throne do? Then they started to type throne of judgment, throne of punishment, throne of decree. Oh, so fun, Suddenly the chat group was lighting up, Actually, in the end, starting nothing one. Nobody want to talk one. But then once I get them to say on the chat, then start hidop already. After a while, one of them started to type this out, and then after that, I reference back to their chat. So I repeat to them, always refer back. If people are contributing, refer back to what they say and tell them, you yourself say, right? It is the place you go to find mercy. Wow, the place you go to find favor with God. Wow, so good, and from there, I could get the chat out and I could talk with them directly in the room, and suddenly, after that, everything came up. And then they could talk. They can say, wow, I don't believe it, man. I could stand before the Agong and hear a law being passed, but I stand before the King of Kings and I get mercy. So rich. And suddenly the word session came alive. Why? Because actually we could use a tool to get a low-level entry point, to get them to engage and then build up. So if you've got a tough concrete thing like words, meanings, concepts, the chat room can be very happy. But if you've got something a bit more less concrete, a bit more conceptual, like all the why questions, right? Like, why do you think Sanballat was so hostile towards Nehemiah? right? That's a why question, okay? You may not be able to use the chat for something like this. You want to use a different tool. You might want to unmute someone, and get them to respond directly, right? So in that situation, you might want to say, call out one of your friends, right? Like say, hey, one of my people, okay, hey Andrew, right? And then unmute Andrew, right? Why do you think Sanballat was so hostile to Nehemiah when they were building the thing? And then Andrew might be like, maybe it's because they had vested interest in the land. Wow, suddenly your word session is moving, so that's one thing you can do. Use the chat or use unmute directly and get them to talk, okay? You can call people out, that kind of thing, okay? Now that's very important. That's if you have small group experiences, okay? Right now, I want you to just type it out, okay? Like, what's your worst small group experience, okay, on Zoom? Is it everybody quiet? Say it out. If you had small group experiences where it's all very quiet, say it in the chat right now, okay? Mine is, I'm going to type it out, okay? I'm going to type it out, okay? I see some of y'all yawning, so I know we got to do something. I know we got to move on already. Yeah, everyone, okay, mine wasn't everyone quiet. Mine is, one guy dominated and started to get extra emotional. Yeah, I'm saying this to everyone. Please don't say it privately to me. Say it to everyone so everyone can see. Yeah. If not, I may not be able to see. Oh yeah. Okay. Wow. I see. The worst experience. Everybody wants to speak. Pin drop silence. Right. Joanne says everyone quiet. On Lao says everyone sleepy. Right. Okay. See. You can see how some very basic tools can become very helpful for all of us, okay? Remember, if you've got questions, continue to ask them. Our tech team is continuing to look at the chat. But I want to move very quickly to prayer, okay? If you're running a prayer meeting, okay, a few things that you really want to pay attention to. I'm going to breeze through this, okay? Unmute all is chaos, okay? Unmute all is chaos, but it's sometimes not all bad, okay? Mute all is for highly coordinated things. I covered this. Direct muting, share screen, not just slides, and short bursts of prayer in chat. Okay, let's get rid of this. Okay, now, I know this is slightly denomination oriented, but I can't think of many opportunities where you want to have 50 people unmuted, except for one, which is when if your church prays in tongues, then unmuting everybody to pray in tongues works. You know why? Because it's okay to be chaotic when we are all, okay lah, I don't mean to be unbiblical in a 1 Corinthians kind of sense, but you know what I mean, right? When we are all praying in tongues, we are not actually listening into each other and what each other's tongues means, so or sounds like. So we're just praying in tongues, but actually being able to hear everybody with the lag or without the lag, it's okay. So that's probably the only time unmuting 50 people makes sense. I can only think of one other occasion when it is okay, and if you want to chaotically sing happy birthday to someone whom you love very much, and it's funny, it's wacky, it sounds horrible, but it's fun, okay? That's the only 2 times you want to unmute everybody. Other than that, you want to have that under control. Now, I've covered quite a lot of the things I wanted to say about prayer. Mainly, make sure that you're spotlighting the person who is leading in prayer. So you may reach a point in your prayer meeting where you're going from person A and then person B is starting to pray. You might want to spotlight them so everyone can see who is the one praying. If not, you might be curious and you have everybody clicking through multiple pages. Who's praying? I can hear the voice, but I can't see the face, that kind of thing. So to remove that distraction, just spotlight them straight away. Even if their video is off, it is okay to spotlight them with an off video. At least people know who's praying. They're not curious. And if they're curious, as we naturally will be, then they're distracted and they're not praying along, right? Okay. And yeah, use the chat room for short bursts of prayer. So everybody pray for the nation right now on the chat. Say one line, bang, 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 bang on the chat. It can work, right? Of course, you can do it over the video as well. Okay. Now I'm going to move very quickly away from prayer into the next one, which is breakout rooms. But before we do breakout rooms, okay, we're going to learn how to overcome our fear of creating breakout rooms, when to best use breakout rooms, and a few special reminders. But before that, let's play a poll. I think it's time for another poll. Okay, let's play another poll. Okay, a breakout rooms poll. Everybody stretch, relax, because a poll is coming up. Okay, wow. You guys have been amazing, man. Rocking until now. How do you feel about launching breakout rooms? A, never tried, don't really dare. B, tried before, still learning. C, done it, easy, not that bad, right? So I just want to get a feel from all of you guys, okay? Hey, don't worry, we're almost near the end already, okay? We're almost near the end, but if you still have more questions after you answer this poll, you can ask those questions in the chat, okay? But I really hope that you guys have been learning. Yeah, I really hope you've had new things. But I know it's getting late. I know it's getting tiring. Now look, 2/3 of you, okay, let's end the poll. I got the answers. 2/3 of you haven't tried breakout rooms before, and you don't really dare. Okay, now the reason why I can tell you this is that I myself didn't really dare to get into breakout rooms for a while. And I want you to look at the poll results. Can everyone see the poll results? Okay. This poll results is telling, you know why? Because done it, not that bad, is a higher percentage than tried before, still learning. And you know what this means? It means that more people, once they have tried, immediately feel they're confident using it, then they are still kind of like, tried already, still learning. And that's very helpful to know, right? Because what it means is that once you attack breakout rooms, okay, and overcome your fear of launching them, 21% said that, I'm good. I've tried it. It's not that bad. It's actually very easy. So a few things about breakout rooms. When do you want to use breakout rooms? Use it. I tell you when it's very useful. When you are running a prayer meeting and it's a bit bigger and you want to break people out into small groups, okay, then break them out. It's excellent, right? To have people in three people to a room, 4 people to a room, they're praying with each other. If you're running a class and you want to break up the room for small group discussion, do it. If you're running a cell group, okay, and you want the boys to share among themselves and the ladies to share among themselves, do it, right? You can have 3 boys groups and 3 men groups and 3 ladies groups, whatever works, right? I tell you what's excellent for breakout rooms. If you have, your whole church has 1 paid account, but you have, let's say, 5 CGs, 5 cell groups, okay, and they all meet at the same time, guess what? You can actually host 1 meeting room and all 5 CGs join that call, but autos preset, everybody break out already. You know what I mean? And then you can have 1 host to jaga. Oh, I accidentally came up from the breakout room. Which cell group are you in? I'm in cell group number whatever. Then you can send them into their breakout rooms, right? It's excellent. Breakout rooms are really, really useful. But most of the time, we don't cross the line because we feel it's a bit scary. So I want to demystify breakout rooms for all of you. Let's show the slide on how you can create a breakout room. So now, here's the thing. Breakout rooms are for free. Everybody has breakout rooms, okay? The only reason why you don't see it is because your setting, okay, you haven't enabled breakout rooms. But even the free accounts give you breakout rooms option, okay? It just comes with all the normal things for free, which is 40 minutes. It will cut off, but you will have it. So you click on the breakout rooms, you will get this little window. Assign how many participants into 3 participants into how many rooms. That is auto setting. You can click manual, okay? Let's say we click manual, okay, and we create the breakout rooms. Don't be scared. At this point, your breakout room doesn't suddenly happen, okay? You're just saying that I want to move to the next window. At the next window, you get to assign, click. These 3 people in 1 room, these 4 people in 1 room, these 3 people, and you can see all their names. So if I were to run a breakout room right now, I can see all your 300 over names in one on the checkbox at the top. You can see that, and I can just pre-assign, right? I can assign everybody, and when I'm happy, then I click that little green button at the bottom that says open all rooms. Once I click that, then boom, everybody will get a notification that says, would you like to attend, to join the room? Then you click yes, and then you go into the room. If you don't click yes, you remain in the main room, okay? But if you really want to automatically send everyone to a breakout room, then you see there is this little options window here where you can move all participants into breakout rooms automatically. If you check that and you click open all rooms, the green button there, everybody goes. They don't get to negotiate with you. Everybody goes to a breakout room, right? And that can be very helpful if you don't want, if you want to move very quick and everybody's already quite comfortable with breakout rooms idea. Now, if you go to the next slide, okay, once you have created the room, okay, you can still move people around. Okay, so let's just say you feel that, oh, these people are maybe you got a room with 3 people, and then 2 of them, their connection dropped. So you only got 1 person left. You can actually move this person to another room. You can see move to, right, on the top left-hand picture. And only when you're done, you can close all rooms, and then they will all come back to your main room. Now, here's the thing. If you click close all rooms, it gives them 60 seconds before they're automatically transported back into your room. Okay, so they will get a warning, but sometimes 60 seconds is not enough time, especially if they are praying and all that, then they may need more time. So you can use the broadcast message to all function. So throughout the time when everyone is in breakout rooms, you can use the broadcast to do a few things. One, you can, let's say you're doing a prayer meeting, you can send out the prayer list. So pray, number 1, pray for Malaysia. Number 2, pray for our church. Number 3, pray for our families, right? So you can send it out through the broadcast and everyone will see it, right? Of course, you can also use the broadcast to tell them, hey guys, 2 minutes left. Make sure you are wrapping up your session, okay? And then you can send out another broadcast. Hey guys, whatever, right? When you come back, make sure you have something to share, something like that. You can say whatever you want in the broadcast, but everyone in the rooms will get it, okay? And then when you're really done, close all rooms, everyone will come back, lor. Not so scary after all, okay? Experiment it. Now, I tell you, the only thing about breakout rooms that I don't like so much is that I can't play with it when I'm on my own at home. I need to get a few of my kaki to say, hey guys, I want to experiment with breakout rooms. Can you guys join me, right? So if you have a cell group or whatever, test it out, right? Spend half an hour testing out breakout rooms, get everyone into a Zoom call, play with it, and when you feel that it's great, then you can actually apply it for your actual small group gathering. It's going to be really, really good, right? So if you've got questions about breakout rooms, feel free to ask, but I've got a few things that I want to say about it. Firstly, assigning who prays for who. Yeah, okay, sorry. I'm just going to move away from breakout rooms, okay, and share with you whenever you do ministering over Zoom, right? When you do ministering over Zoom, a few things can be very helpful. Now, if you look at gallery view, everybody click on gallery view, see each other's faces, right? If you see each other's faces, for me, I see person A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, okay? And then I see 25 people on one screen, right? Guess what? Everybody sees a different sequence of those 25 people. Okay, so it might happen that you will say, okay guys, let's pray clockwise. Okay, and you think it is self-explanatory. It is not. Clockwise for you is person A to B to C to D, right? But to someone else on their device, clockwise for them is actually person B to F to A to B, and it's totally jumbled up. So what we do is I will just say, okay, Krishan, pray for me. I will pray for Andrew. Andrew will pray for Elsie. Elsie will pray for Cheryl. And then another host will be typing out Krishan, Fergus. Fergus, Andrew, Elsie, and then that goes into the chat. And then once that's done, you don't have to worry about sequence or sometimes you're praying and you don't want someone to break like who am I supposed to pray for again? You don't want that, right? So you put everything onto the chat, and then you can start praying, right? If you are having a more private sharing, okay, let's say you got a guy's breakout room, right? And you're sharing about private things, your addictions or something like that, right? This will land everyone in your room a lot of confidence. You know why? Because you might be sharing about your addiction to alcohol, right? And you don't know, but sitting next to me could be my wife, right? And you don't want my wife to hear about your addiction to alcohol, right? Okay, but you don't know, ma. If I'm talking to you like this, okay, your sound can be leaking out, right? My wife can be in the kitchen and she can hear that you are talking about your struggle with alcohol, right? But when the moment I put this on, it lends everyone in the room a lot of confidence because they know I am the only one who can hear it, okay? So even if you are alone in the room, if you want to encourage trust, because I can tell you, if they don't trust, they won't talk. I guarantee you, if they don't trust, they won't share, right? So if you want to establish trust in the room, even if you're the only one in the room, you put on one of these, right? It immediately makes people feel that I feel very safe that no one else can hear. And then they will be more prepared to share. Okay, that's a real life experience kind of tip, right? And of course, hey, you know what? 1 week in the MCO, one of my cell groups said, Pastor Fergus, I miss doing altar calls. How many of you guys miss altar calls, right? Okay, so he said, bro, let's do altar call in cell this week. Okay, so we experimented. We said, yes, let's try doing altar call. So what we did was, we got the worship leader to just play a song, right? Just play a loop, right? A chord progression, okay? Actually, she was doing it on a keyboard. So they just play a progression, okay? And then the one facilitating told everyone, so y'all can try this, huh? I want to encourage y'all to try this, huh? Okay? Tell everyone, I want to encourage you right now, no one looking around, everybody turn off your video. Everybody off video, right? And then while everybody off video, let's try this real time. Everybody off video now. Everybody off video. Everybody off. I'm going to off video as well. So the person doing it also must say, okay, I'm going to off video. Okay, I'm going to off video. Okay, off video. Everybody off video. And I want you to think about one thing that is burdening you. Okay, wow. Zoom training become ministry time. Never mind, we demo for real, okay? One thing that's burdening you, okay? Now, wherever you are, in your living room, in whatever situation you are, because we can't see each other anyway, I want to invite you to just lift up your right hand, put it on your heart. Put it on your heart, okay? And that one thing that is burdening you, can you say a prayer and ask God to lift up that burden? Everybody right now, I'm going to give you all some quiet, and then in the meantime, someone will be playing on their music instrument, right? And that's going on. And right now, for real, lift up that prayer to the Lord. Lift up that prayer to the Lord. Lord Jesus, I just pray that every burden lifted up, even incidentally, in the course of this training, you hear prayers when we gather to pray. You hear prayers when we gather to train as well. So Father, we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Everybody turn your video back on. Now, the reason why I asked you to turn video off is that you can push it even further. That night, we asked people, you can get on your knees. With your video off, get on your knees. It's okay. No one looking anyway, ma. I want you to stand up. I want you to stand up and lift your hands, and whatever. And you know what? With video off, you don't know what's going on. But you know what happened at the end of that cell group? When we finished everything, they went into the WhatsApp and were saying to each other, wow, I so needed that. So many came and said, I so needed that time of ministry, So don't think you can't push the limits of how far Zoom can take your ministry time in your small groups. You can take it very, very far. And same for worship. If you want to say, everybody rise up, right? There's a physical element to it which can be very, very powerful when you are ministering over Zoom. Okay, so if you've learned something or if you've got more questions, remember, keep throwing it in the chat. Elsie, do we have any questions? Yeah, I'm sure we've built up a lot of questions by now. Yeah.
Yes, we have 2 questions. They want to know if, let's say, most of the audience turn off their video, and because of poor connections, not because they don't want to show, and you can't seem to engage more with them. How do you deal with problems like that?
So sometimes people turn off video not because their house is messy or because they are not groomed, but because their connection is low. That's a very wise thing to do. Prioritize your audio on Zoom over your video because if you can't hear, there's no conversation, right? So how you can continue to build rapport is to use the chat log, right? Because that is the lowest number of kilobytes being transmitted, is through chat. But you can already, you just have to work harder lah. I remember I was in this chat where the guy's audio cannot jalan also. In fact, his line was so bad that we had to discuss openly and then say, can you tell us your response on the chat? And then the guy was typing into the chat their responses. So it's unfortunate if the line is bad enough to not be able to have video. But actually, one thing, just make sure that your HD mode is not on. By default, your HD mode is not on. Okay, but if you go to your video settings, make sure HD mode is off, because if your HD mode is on, then it's taking even more bandwidth. Okay, it's taking even more bandwidth. But there are a few other tips on how you can improve your bandwidth. So sometimes you want to solve the problem at the source. If you are on Wi-Fi, but your house has a modem router and you got your Ethernet cable, okay, and you have a converter or your computer, you can actually chuck the Ethernet cable straight into your computer. Do it. You know why? You get the full bandwidth. Wi-Fi will always, at the top of the food chain is your Ethernet cable going right in. Okay, so if you can, do it. Okay, if your computer doesn't have the right kind of like adapter, buy an adapter on Lazada, get them to send it, and then you put it together, put it straight in. You get the best line you can. Okay, if not, then Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is the next best option, but you have to make sure a few things. Okay, so make sure that all your other devices are not running. Okay, make sure that you don't have Netflix running, any streaming thing, YouTube, Netflix, all these things. Make sure you kill all those things, because that is a bandwidth sapping a nightmare. Okay, make sure no one else is in your house is downloading anything major, and of course you want to make sure that, okay, below Wi-Fi is in most circumstances, below Wi-Fi is your data, data on your phone, right? And you want to make sure that if you kind of Wi-Fi, now some of our data is really good, most of our data cannot rival Wi-Fi, so see accordingly, there are ways where you can just help your bandwidth a little better. But if you really can't help it, then you can't help it, yeah, and then you just have to off video and then rely more on voice. But every time you off video, you have to work harder on voice. Yeah. Okay, any other questions, Elsie?
Yes, thank you, Pastor Fergus. And there's this question about whether is it advisable to use slides if their session is, they can only afford like 40 minutes. The Zoom, the normal basic account that only allow for 40 minutes. Is it advisable for them to use slides in their session?
Slides, is it?
Yeah, slides.
It really doesn't. If you are planning to show a lot of slides and it's going to take up a lot of time, then you want to plan around your 40 minutes. And like I said, when you are on Zoom and you have a 40-minute limiter, then you must manage your expectations and you can't deliver everything. So you might want to break up your content, or you might want to simplify your gathering. If there are many people, simplify, make sure you can team everything in 40 minutes and then break, right? If you have a smaller group and you can break and everybody sign back in, then actually the sky is your limit, lor. You just have to keep signing back in, but whether you use slides or not, I think it really depends on how you want to use slides. For me, I use slides as an impact thing and to break momentum, and for people to see one question and then you take it out, so it doesn't really impact. But if you're planning to methodically comb through a big deck, then you might want to simplify it, lah. Yeah. Any other questions, Elsie?
No, so far we're done.
No, remember, if you've got questions in BM or Chinese, you can ask them in your native tongue, and Elsie can ask them. Elsie is multilingual, so she can hack that. Yeah. Okay. Very quickly, I want to show you. I've been talking about hosts. Get your host to do this. Get your host to do this. Get your host to do this. Okay. So very quickly, I'm gonna show you one slide. 2 minutes. We count in this slide. Okay. We have 4 hosts in this room, right? Actually, we have 5 hosts in this room right now. But I give you a simple setup for a medium size kind of like thing. Okay. Let's say you're running a class or a cell group, a Bible study, or a prayer meeting. Your host number 1 is the one who hosts the call. They are the main host. Everyone else is strictly speaking a co-host. Okay. They should be tasked to spotlight the speaker, run polls, run online games, play music from Spotify, record to cloud, manage breakout rooms. All of these things, let host number 1 do. Host number 2 will screen share the speaker slides. So for today, host number 1 is Ilyas Krishan. You saw him answer the tech questions. Host number 2, you don't see her. She is nameless, faceless, but a good, very dear friend in real life. But in behind the scene, even though you don't see her, she is clicking through all my slides. The fact that this slide is on is because she's doing it, right? Host number 3 is also in this room, nameless, faceless, but this was the person who monitors the waiting room, broadcasts all the messages to waiting room, admit all of y'all in. If any of y'all somehow manage to unmute, they will mute you. They handle gatekeeping as well. So if they got a Zoom hacker, someone come in unregistered, host number 3 will kick them out. That kind of thing. If you have a difficult participant, and they are creating trouble, host number 3 will be the one to help to remove them from the thing. And if you are dropping in late and you need someone to admit you from the waiting room, host number 3 is the one who does this. So, and of course, host number 4 and any subsequent host, 5 as well, will look at the chat and handle Q&A if you have Q&A. Now, the reason why this is helpful and why this is laid out this way is that host number 1 is like your video jockey. They are the one who is show this, play this music, play that music, that kind of thing, right? Host number 1 does all that. Host number 2 has a dedicated role to partner with the person presenting in order to deliver all the content. Host number 3 is like your bouncer. They spend the whole day looking at the participants. They are combing through all the participants' pages. They are looking at the names. Suddenly someone comes in with a weird code as their Zoom name, then look suspicious, they will talk to them, that kind of thing, right? And of course, host 4 spends the whole time looking at the chat room, right? So this is a very helpful way. Now, you may not be able to have 4 people to help you, but actually, if you have to compress it down to 2, and that slide will actually already help you to roughly get an idea of how you can get people to help you with your Zoom things, right? Okay, so I want to move on from here to talk about my favorite topic, which is composing yourself. I'm going to do this fast, but I hope all of you are awake, okay? Number 1 is eye line, okay? Eye line, okay? Pick you in your camera, picking a place, and we're going to talk a bit about virtual backgrounds. Now, your eye line is the most important thing, to me, one of the most important things about a Zoom call. So eye line is related to the level of your computer. Now, remember, I showed you all just now the ceiling fan fella, okay? The ceiling fan fella, okay? Now, what I want to get all of you, practical, everybody lift your device up until your camera is at eye level. Everybody do that right now. I'm going to go to gallery view. Don't spotlight me. See each other. Everybody do it right now. Practice, okay? Move your device until it's eye level. Eye level. And straight. Okay? Good. I can see all of you are so quiet. All of you are excellent students, right? Okay. I can see all of you are moving it down. Okay. Now, when you speak into your Zoom, normally, right now, everybody, if you can look at me, right? Okay. Okay. Spotlight me for a moment. Spotlight me for a moment. Okay. Okay. Now, if normally when most people talk to each other, they talk like this, right? Look at my eyeline. Look at where I'm looking. Okay. Am I looking at you? To me, I'm looking at you all because I'm looking at all your faces on my screen, but actually my camera is above okay? So host number 2, show us the slide, the screen share the screen of my camera on my device. Yeah, I love this. I just did this and I just took a picture of it, okay, so that y'all can see what my own camera looks like on my actual device, okay? Because most of the time, I can be honest, we don't look at our camera one, okay? We don't look at our camera. We are actually looking at each other. Now, my camera has this little thing, okay? I put some washi tape to make 2 arrows, so macho looking, right? Okay, pointing at my camera. You know why? This helps me focus and it reminds me to keep looking into my camera because you know what? Most of the time, okay, now you can take this off, right? Okay, most of the time, the person presenting is looking at you like this. He's talking to you like this, okay? But I'm not looking at you. The way for me to look at you is to look into my camera. And when I'm looking into my camera, I'm really looking at you. And it's especially important if you are praying for people or if you are delivering like a message and you're sharing an impartation and you're getting to the most important part, to be able to look straight down into the camera at everybody and deliver the money line is so important. You guys feel that? You guys feel that, right? Okay. Now, most of the time we don't experience people engaging with us eye to eye like that. It's because most of us are looking at each other's faces, so your eye line is going down. Okay. So eye line is very important. This is the most important part of your screen. That's why you want your face here. You don't want your face to be, I'll take this off for a moment. You don't want your face to be like this, okay? Because this is the most important spot. This is, if you can put it in relational terms, this is the power spot, okay? Everybody wants to see this. Everything said here is the most authoritative. Everything said anywhere else is less authoritative, is less strong. So if you want to make an important point, make sure you frame and compose yourself until you are looking at the camera with your head here, and then say, okay? Now, this is headroom. Everybody say headroom. This is chin room, okay? The bigger the headroom, the shorter you look. The lower the headroom, which is, when you lower the headroom, you increase the chin room, okay? The more chin room you give, the taller you look. In fact, if I did this, you'd be like, man, this guy is so tall, he can barely fit into his screen, right? It's all an optical illusion, okay? But if you compose your screen so that you have, it's okay to cut even, It's okay to cut even a little bit. The important thing is when you press close, you are occupying this spot, right? Or you can go even far and you're adjusting accordingly, right? And you're always at the most important focal point of everyone's eyes, okay? Now, you want to pick your background as well. So today, I have purposely set myself up in my living room so that weird things like this can happen, right? And they have been happening. So that you can see my kids in the background. They are moving about, so I can actually show you in real life what happens. I know we are all doing Zoom at home, so there are a lot of things we can't control, like your family members in your background. So a few things to pay attention to with choosing a background. Choose as plain a background as possible. Or rather, choose as undistracting a background as possible, okay? So most of my Zoom calls are done with a bookshelf behind me, okay? Because it's kind of uniform and there's not a lot of things going on there. You don't really want to run a Zoom call with like all this, but I purposely sat here in part so that I can show you a few things in this session, okay? So you want to pick your background accordingly. Now, you want to try to minimize the distance between you and your wall as well. The problem is when you run a Zoom call with the whole house behind you, anyone can walk into your call. And firstly, it's not cool. Secondly, it might not be fair to your family members to feel that they can't walk anywhere around the house because you're doing another stupid Zoom call, you know? So you might want to be maximally considerate to your family by having a wall right up close behind you so that they can walk in front of you, they can go about their normal life, right? And not feel like, oh, mom's having a Zoom call, I can't walk through the whole living room, right? Because the whole living room is her background, right? So that will be helpful. Of course, if the whole living room is your background and your family just don't care and go about their normal life, then you can see your children coming out from the bathroom lah, you can see your husband making a coffee lah, and all the kind of things, and you may not want to show that lah, you know, like my son walking about now, you know. So that's one thing about backgrounds, okay? Now, another thing about background is you want to make sure that the light source is coming to you from the front, okay? So what happens if the light source is coming to you from behind? It looks like this, okay? I am right now officially backlit. I'm lit from behind, and all you see is a silhouette of me, right? You can't really see the detail of my face. I know some of you have no choice. You have to be backlit for this call because you started that way. But that's one very important thing to think about, is to think about where. So when I pick a place for my Zoom call, I make sure the background is suitable. I make sure that I am not backlit, but I'm lit from the front. I make sure that because I've got small kids at home, I make sure that I'm in a place where they can minimally Zoom bomb me, right? Like that, right? And I also make sure that I'm close to a power source, because I can't stress this enough. Okay, make sure you are near to a power source so that all your devices can be charged. Okay, now composing yourself, that's very important. Now here's the thing, with having, if you've got kids in your house or pets in your house and they might suddenly bomb you in the middle, everybody will pitch how serious a crime that is, okay, how inappropriate that is based on how you react. Okay, so if my son came onto the screen and I started freaking out, I'm like, son, get out, I'm doing a Zoom call, son, yeah. You know, if I do that, then all of you will start to feel like, yeah, it's quite inappropriate for a little boy to Zoom bomb his father while he's training in the middle of their living room, right? But if my son just suddenly walks in and I continue talking, you know, and I don't bat an eye, and I just put my arm around him and I just continue training you, and then after a while I send him off to his mother, you know, and all of you are going to feel like, it's not that bad lah. Yeah, you know, everyone's at home anyway, you know. So actually, your participants will pitch their response based on how panicky or how relaxed you are. So can I say this? If your golden retriever just suddenly walks up and lands on your lap, you know, don't freak out. Yeah, just be cool about it, you know, pat the guy, rub him out, and then send him out, you know, and everybody will be okay one. Actually, we're actually more gracious to each other on Zoom than we think. But sometimes we're very scared, because, you know, it's like, wow, you know, don't look unprofessional or something like that, right? So we don't want that. But a few more things about picking your place. When you Zoom, please don't slouch. Especially if it's an important thing, don't slouch, sit straight, you know. Do not Zoom from bed. I really think that this is a very important thing. Don't Zoom from bed. And if you have to, because you live in a studio apartment or you're renting a room or whatever it is, your living room is it has your family and it's noisy, then make sure it doesn't look like you're Zooming from bed. So you want to make sure your bed head is not, and you know, the last thing you want to do is to go onto your sofa and like or lie on your bed, right? And that's why I was kind of like teasing the bed heads just now in my opening game, right? So sit upright, compose yourself in the middle, top half, look straight into your camera, talk to people, be engaging, lean in, lean out, and that's going to be very helpful. Now, one last thing about is virtual background. Sometimes you say that, oh, my house is a wreck, you know, I don't have time to tidy up, you know, so I want to use a virtual background. Virtual backgrounds can be very helpful. But important things to note. Number one, you want a plain background, because if you don't have a plain background and you try to do a virtual background, then you are going to get something like this, you know, where it's kind of like some parts can, some parts cannot, and then it looks ridiculous, and after a while it starts eating into my face, you know, like that, you know, and you don't want that, right? So since I know that my background cannot one, then I just don't do all. Right? Don't do law, and then have to tidy up a bit law. Okay. Now the thing about virtual backgrounds, what you can do very well. You notice my tech hosts who have the same virtual background. Okay, those who can have got it on. You can play games and have two different teams. With each virtual background, I've seen that done very well. You can have all your leaders with the same virtual background. That can look very smart and very coordinated. You want to make some wardrobe considerations. So if my background is white, don't wear white, because the technology is going to erase all the white that it sees and replace it with your background. So if my background is black, I cannot wear black. If my background is blue, don't wear blue. Wear the opposite color so it doesn't erase you. If it does erase you, then everything, then you're gone. Then you're just a floating bunch of pixels, right? And you don't want that. Okay. Now a few tips. Some people have done this extremely well. Okay, they compose themselves like a newscaster. Okay, hey, learn this. If you can do virtual backgrounds, this is amazing. I can't, so I've never tried, right? But I've been told you compose yourself like a newscaster, and instead of preparing your slides, you prepare a bunch of pictures to be placed sequentially, one after another, as your virtual backgrounds. Okay, with all the words on this side. You see, you get what I'm saying? So it's like a newscaster in a newsroom. They are talking, and then they press the slides, okay? And the virtual background is showing, and all the words are showing up on this thing. Is that not brilliant, guys? I wish I had a plain colored background and a computer that could handle virtual background well, because I love that idea, okay? If you can, I encourage you to try it. It is so cool. But of course, make sure that your head is not blocking your visuals, you know. So that's one thing. Yeah. And of course, you can have fun virtual backgrounds or serious virtual backgrounds. It really depends on the seriousness or the formality of the meeting you're having, right? Now, just a few more things. Son, I'm gonna need my selfie stick. I'm gonna show you guys now, walk you guys through on Zoom on mobile, which is a very important thing to cover, right? And we are gonna close already. We're going to finish already, okay? So Zoom on mobile, I'm going to talk to you a bit about why it's important to use a selfie stick when you're using Zoom on mobile. I'm also going to talk a little bit about auto rotation of your mobile device. We're going to look at how Zoom will still remain on even while it is off, okay? And okay, let me get my Zoom on mobile going. Now, when you are on your Zoom on mobile, the most important thing to know is that if you want to compose yourself properly and hold yourself at the correct distance from the thing, then you're going to hold like this, right? But when you hold like this, you're actually very near your screen, so it actually looks a little bit like too near, you know, not nice. Okay, so what you want to do, okay, is to hold it further. But you know, you hold further for a half an hour call, jialat, right? Your hand's so painful, right? So actually, right, what you really should be doing is you should be using a selfie stick, and then you should be doing your Zoom call like this. I can tell you, I've done so many meetings where I can't be on my computer because my computer is doing a Zoom call for my children's online school, and I'm on my mobile, but I'm actually talking like this. Okay, I'm talking like this into my camera. Okay, nobody can see my selfie stick; they can just see me. Okay, I'm just getting the right composition on my thing. Okay, make sure that, of course, make sure always that your mobile device has charge. Okay, and your selfie stick, you can actually move it further or shorter, but it is such a good friend when you are doing Zoom on mobile. Sometimes I adjust it so that I can plant the selfie stick on the floor, and then I can just have this head pointing at me, and the whole Zoom call, I'm just holding the selfie stick like this with the base planted on the floor, and I'm just looking straight into it, holding it ajar from me, right? That can be very helpful. Now, one thing I must warn you about using Zoom on your handphone is please don't bring it into the bathroom. Yeah, because it can be disastrous. Okay, and I know maybe you say that I turned off the video, right? But maybe you forgot, or maybe, you know, your hand accidentally touched it. Hey, can I tell you, I tell you, technology sometimes is no mercy one. You touch just a little bit, suddenly you mana tahu your video came on, you know. So please, I plead with you, don't bring this guy into your bathroom if you are doing a Zoom call. Okay. Now, if you really have to, okay. I don't know when you would really have to, but if you really have to, be super paranoid. And there's only one time you want to be super paranoid, right? It's with your privacy like that, right? So make sure that your Zoom is video off, muted, so they don't hear you flush, okay? Everything is muted, okay? And place it sideways so that the front-facing camera is leaning against a wall on the floor, okay? Okay? And then if it happens to switch to your back-facing camera, it is also hitting the opposite wall and it is not seeing anything. Okay? Okay? If you have to, then do that. Actually, if you can prepare ahead of time. Problem is when you need to go to the toilet, you can't prepare, right? Just put a tape over this, and still put it sideways, and be maximum paranoid when you go to the toilet with your Zoom. But if you can tahan, put it outside your bathroom door, or don't, just leave it and tell everybody I got to go to the bathroom and just go, right? And when you come back, just ask them what did I miss, right? Okay, because you can't miss anything that is worse than having an accident with your video on while you're in the bathroom. Okay, but if it does happen, okay, if one of your participants ever accidentally brings their phone into the bathroom and their video is accidentally on, please look after them by spotlighting someone, your host quickly put on a slide, okay, because when you put on the slide, it immediately overrides it, okay. But actually, you can spotlight someone, you can put up a slide, but the best one is if you are the host, go to their video and stop video. You can stop their video for them, okay, and that is the best thing you can do for your brother or sister. Privately, they will be so thankful to you, right? So that's very important, okay? I can't stress that more important, more. Now, every once in a while, we will have difficult participants, and difficult participant can come in the form of someone who is sharing for too long. So let's say they share too long, talk. One thing you can help is get your host to spotlight you. So if they share so long and you are spotlighted, they should get the drift that you are trying to talk, right? So Zoom helps you, right? Okay. If not, then you can type into the chat, you know, and say that, hey, hey, so and so, like, hey, Andrew, we need to move on with the conversation because we're running out of time, right? So you don't have to. So it's softer than say it onto the chat, like, hey, bro, you got to stop, right? Okay. So that helps, okay. But if you're spotlighted, what you can do is you can start to and then interact, and then when you can find a chance, you can say, okay. But if the person you are dealing with is hostile or overly, it's quite noisy, son. Okay, so if the person you're dealing with is getting hostile or getting too emotional, you might want to actively mute them. Okay, so let's say you're dealing with someone and they are actually hostile, or they are like, yeah, I'm so angry with this person. I want to take a gun and kill them. In fact, I want to go and like, oh man, like this meeting just went south. You know, you might want to just mute them, spotlight yourself, and say, hey brother, I see that this has really touched the nerve, okay, we are here for you, okay, but I'm gonna need to take back this conversation, so I want to lovingly say, bro, after this call, can I call you, and then can I speak with you and pray with you, you know, but in the meantime, can we move on with the conversation, right? Now, saying something like that, taking control by spotlighting and muting can really help to diffuse someone who is a difficult participant. Now, if let's say they are still hostile and they unmute themselves and say, no, I want to talk, right? Okay, then you can have one of your hosts gently but decisively usher them out of the Zoom room by removing them, and there are ways, there are settings so that you remove them, they cannot keep signing back in, okay? Or even if you remove them, they come back into the waiting room, you don't admit them, they can't come in, okay? So these are just one or two things about dealing with difficult participants that you just want to be mindful of, right? But remember, the moment you have removed a difficult participant from your Zoom room, the atmosphere in that room is down, and you need to fix the atmosphere. So what you should do is, because that's the elephant in the room, right? Okay, and you have to deal with it, so I encourage you, if you have to deal with that, to just tell everyone that, hey guys, just want to let you know that I'll be giving Andrew a call after this. Sorry, Andrew. I'll be giving Andrew a call after this to just speak with him and to pray along with him. But right now, I think he might not be in the best frame of mind to be in our session. But we're looking after him. Don't worry. But I just want, maybe we can all pray for Andrew right now, and then everybody pray for Andrew together. And when the moment you say amen, you can immediately switch gears, go back to what you were saying, okay, and you at least you acknowledge the elephant in the room. You see, at least, and it won't be awkward after that. Okay, so man, I think I've been talking non-stop. Elsie, do we have any questions? Let's take a question break, and actually we're done. Yeah, it's 5 o'clock. I've gone a little over time, but do we have questions? Yes.
Yes, thanks, Pastor. So we have two questions. One question is being that, how do we handle conversation if someone refuses to use a video or audio? How do we encourage that person to be more engaged?
Okay, so how do you encourage someone to turn on their video? Well, I think creating a safe space for them to so I said earlier that you should groom yourself, right? Actually, grooming yourself for a Zoom call can be a double-edged sword. Okay, maybe you can spotlight me so they can see me, right? Okay, grooming yourself can be a bit of a double-edged sword, especially if your room and your participants and the setting can be quite casual, and then you groom yourself very well. your fellow participants might feel like, I'm such a slob today, my hair is a mess, I don't think I want to show anyone how I look like, right? So if that is the case, then maybe you don't want to be so well dressed or so slick looking, but you just normal. And I think if everyone in the room kind of looks like kind of each other, it might embolden more people to say, hey, actually they're all quite chillax about this. I think maybe I dare to turn on as well. You can even address it and say that, hey, you know what, I really would love to see all your faces. Don't worry about it. We are all at home anyway. I'm at home as well. Conditions are not perfect as well. So you can encourage them. But if they really don't want, there's nothing you can do. You can encourage them to put up a profile picture, so that there at least is a little bit more rapport than if it was just a name on a grey screen, right? And then, like I said, then you have to work harder on your audio or on your chat, no? Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay.
Yeah.
The next question is more on the technical side.
Okay.
He's asking how to clear past report queue, and I think Krishan has this answer.
That's good. Let's spotlight Krishan, spotlight yourself, and let's tell us about clearing past reports queue.
Hi everyone. So report queues, yeah, it's a little tough. I know some of you also emailed me this question after the last training that you were a bit unclear on how you go into the report queues and retrieve the reports of your meetings. So I'm going to actually answer this question now. Well, I need to screen share. Give me a moment.
By the way, if it's not relevant for you because you don't organize bigger sessions, just let this fly by and take a water break. Because we're almost done, but Krishan, go ahead.
I go to my account settings when you go to your Zoom, and then we go into our account management. From account management, you go down there, you can see reports. Okay, from your reports, there are many different kind of reports because I use one account only, and there are active hosts, inactive hosts, upcoming events. For if you mean meeting reports, I can illustrate you the meeting reports here. The meeting reports are the general one that normally I think we all use. So report queue are here and your reports are actually here. These reports are actually those that you have already running today. So this would be my reports for the meetings that I've been conducting either yesterday or today. So these are all those meetings. And then if I want to, let's say, generate a report for just today's meeting, I need to go to my date and change it to 21 June only, and then search. So after that, I would want to actually, let's say, create a report for the registration of this meeting, and then I have to click on generate. And then all registrant, you can decide how you want to actually generate it, all registrant, approved registrants, or denied registrants. Let's say I want only approved registrants, then I go continue. Once I click continue, my reports will be actually in my report queue. And then from here, you can download it, and it will be downloaded as a .csv file, which can be opened generally in your Numbers or your Microsoft Excel. So if you have either one of those, that would be able to open your report queue file. I hope it helps.
Let me unmute myself. Okay, so if any of you are wondering, okay, let me turn this off. I'm hearing a buzz in the background. Yeah, okay. All right, cool. If any of you are wondering what are reports in the first place, then especially when you do registration type things, then you will get a report on everything. So for example, we can see how many registered, how many attended, and all that. So if you are using Zoom for bigger events like that, the reports will be very helpful. So for you, whoever it is who asked that question, I hope that was very helpful and you got to see how you can go through the settings to get that. Elsie, do we have another question?
No, we're done with the questions.
Cool. All right. Yes, that's true. So everything, go to the website for current resources, previous resources and all, and look at it for future resources as well. Thanks so much for this, son. Okay, now we are almost done with our training today. In fact, if you have no more questions, I think this is it. I just want to encourage all of you guys, if you are a bigger church, to keep sharing everything you have learned and keep applying it. You know, if you're a smaller church, keep experimenting and trying, because we always say big is not strong, small is not strong, but strong is strong. So we did this because we want every church to be able to run strong small groups up and down the whole country. So remember, keep sharing everything that you have learned today. If you are a church that is under 100 in size, and it's okay if your English is 80 and your Chinese is like 50 or something like that, we still consider each congregation as under 100, then go to our website and you can register to be a participating church with our Lentil Patch ministry, and we will assign you a coach, a personal coach for your church, to help you get your online church things going and help you to implement everything that you have learned in all these webinars. So that's something that the Lord has put into our hearts to do. So if you're a church that's smaller than 100, sign up at our website to be a participating church. And you see all my tech team, they are all coaches who are journeying with the different. Okay, son. Yeah, who are journeying with our different participating churches. So I really want to encourage you guys to do that. Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy. It's Father's Day. My son really wants to spend Father's Day time with his dad. I've been on this Zoom call since 1:30. So if there is nothing else, let me pray and let me close this session. And you can swing by our website for more information. There will be one more Zoom webinar next week on video editing with zero experience. So if you have never edited a video before, that's a good webinar to jump into. And we as long as you have signed up with us, we have your email, we will send you the promo for it. And in the meantime, let me pray, and we can enjoy the rest of our Father's Day. Father, we thank you, Lord God, for every single one of our participants and who have given us their whole Sunday afternoon to learn this. They've not just given it to us, they've given it to their sheep. They've given it to their people and the congregation, the sheep who are the sheep of your pasture. So Father, I pray that out of this will come such an engaging and powerful shepherding and stewardship over the lives that are under our care. And we pray that out of this, Lord God, all our churches will thrive, all our churches will become even more healthy. And I just thank you, Lord God, for creating technology that is so brilliant, so that in this season of being forced into social distancing, that we can continue to highly engage with you and with the word and with each other, and to minister to one another through a Zoom call like this. So Lord Jesus, we thank you, we praise you. Once again, we thank you for all the fathers in our midst. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, guys. Thank you so much. It's been a blessing and a joy to have all of you guys. I hope you have a wonderful time over your Father's Day dinners. I know my son's going to have a wonderful time the moment I sign out of this, because he just can't wait to have his father back. Okay, have a great weekend and have a wonderful week coming up. Love you guys, and may your churches all grow really strong. See ya.